George Morgan here and Jack Cannan. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go!
Down through the Mercedes teammate.
Denoso with a crafty maneuver up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Beresne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to PSGL. We are back here this evening for Austria. We're heading to the Red Bull Ring, a circuit that has, of course, granted us plenty of controversy in the past, but also some fantastic racing action where strategy can be fruitful, where qualifying can be suspect, where everything abnormal is thrown through, out and in through the window, and we're going to be in for a hell of a treat. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me. He's a bit ill today, so be delicate, everybody. It's Jack Cannan. Jack, welcome back.
Yeah, I sound like I've been hit by a bus. Sorry, guys. This is going to be a throwback sort of for us, because this is where it all started right here a couple of years ago. It was in Austria. Fantastic battle that time between Jarno Opmeer and Barry Borman for the victory back in round 1, season 1, let's call it, for PC. But we've got a great title fight on our cards, of course. Jarno's still leading the championship, but of course, there was a slight difference in the results afterwards, of course. Danny Beresne coming away with the victory after Ron R's penalty. Yeah, let's take you through the results, folks. Beresne taking the top spot. A fantastic effort on his part as well, though it was quite the mishmash in the final lap, where, of course, it was all ripped away from one Thomas Ronhaar, who may have crossed the line first, but he did not hold on to the victory, eventually finishing in 6th place after the stewards' reports came through. Brendan Lee continues his consistent run of form against fellow former teammate Danny Beresne. Of course, both of them once driving for Mercedes together. Of course, Beresne since coming back since that initial stint at Merck. Otis Lawrence once again also on the rise after his recent confirmed signing at Aston Martin. Tamas Gal in 4th with Shanaka Clay, making it a Haas 4th and 5th to round out the top 5. Opmeer, after a tricky opening stint and after a difficult qualifying, actually managing to amass 8th place. It does our championship leader. In fact, we can take you through the driver's standings as we speak. It's Jarno Opmeer on top. Further back, Brendan Lee. Still very, very tight between them. Only 4 points is separating the two former two-time F1 sim racing champions, both of whom are bidding to become the first driver to obtain 3 and become the first driver as well to retake a championship title after losing it. Danny Beresne in 3rd, Tom Manley further back in 4th, Lucas Blakely in 5th, also a former champion, actually coming off the back of a fantastic run in GB4 lately, and now looking to find budget to take part in the championship more often as well. Duncan Hoffland running at the top 6, and big news around Duncan Hoffland, who is confirmed as part of the F1 esports roster for the Aston Martin team, which is fantastic news. Here is the team standings. Of course, we have got Kick Sauber right at the top of the tree with Thomas Ronhaar and Brendan Lee, despite Ronhaar not holding on to the top of the results, obviously not taking P1 at our last race at Mexico. He still brings Sauber extra points in a bid to take the team's crown. Red Bull in 2nd, Mercedes in 3rd, VCarb in 4th, and McLaren round out the top 5. But folks, let's show you exactly where we're going to be heading to tonight. We are heading to Spielberg, Austria, Red Bull Ring, 10 turns, 4.318 kilometers, that's 2.683 miles. And I tell you what, overtaking zones are plenty. Turn 3 is the best spot. Turn 4 as well opens up chances as well alike. It is going to be a juicy race, and there's no better person to take us through it than the one, the only, Brendan Lee.
Welcome to the hills of Austria. Today we have PSGL, providing race day stays dry, will be one of the least important qualifyings on the whole calendar for this season. The reason for that is the slipstream and DRS is so powerful around this track on this year's iteration of the Formula 1 game that having the ability to follow someone else will be so easy and overpowering during the race. So watch out for DRS trains and how that will affect the formation of the race result as well. going through turn 3 here. So critical to get the car slowed down and rotated. One of the key overtaking opportunities, and heading down into turn 4. Just underneath the Pirelli banner, you'll be braking down into 3rd gear, letting the car rotate through and into the middle sector. You'll see some brave overtakes around the outside here come race day, but in qualifying trim, you'll be in 6th gear and rotating the car back on the power. Almost flat out here in the qualifying trim as well. And heading in to the final 2 apexes. Watch out for cars boxing in the race, can cause a bit of carnage for the cars behind us. The pit lane merges with the racing line through the final apex of the track, and this is a hot lap preview for the Austrian race here tonight.
Well, that's Brendan Lee, everybody, giving us some inside scoops around Austria, and also scooping up some of the gravel is Freddie Rasmussen, having a bit of a difficult time at the start of qualifying here, Jack. But he is absolutely right, isn't he, Brendan Lee? When it comes down to Austria, it is a fast, furious circuit, lots of danger around every turn.
There certainly is, and you heard him talk about how powerful the DRS and the slipstream is, especially around here in the sector of Mexico, with that slipstream, that long run down towards turn 1. So you're going to see plenty of that today as well. This is one of the shortest laps time-wise on the calendar as well, so qualifying is going to go by very, very quickly. You'll have chances for multiple runs compared to other tracks as well. But there's plenty to talk about, as we mentioned. We mentioned Duncan Houghlin there. He's now full-time with Aston Martin, moving up from reserve role to full-time role. So congratulations to him. He's on the grid this evening as well. So great to see that as well. But even with the course, when we talked about last week, Danny Beresnay taking the victory, that still doesn't end our winning streak here. We're going for another different winner here in PSGL in a row, of course. We've had every round so far, somebody different has won the Grand Prix, and we're aiming for that again tonight as well. And we're going to see if that stat is that crazy stat that's continuing of the pole sitter not scoring a top 5 in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Danny Beresnay, we actually spoke to him earlier on. The drivers are currently setting intermediate tyre laps. They're not going to be obviously confirmed laps coming the end of the session. So let's check in with Danny Beresnay.
Hello everyone, my name is Danny Beresnay and we are ahead of PSGL round, I don't know how many. We are racing around the circuit of Austria this time. The Red Bull Ring, it's the shortest track in the entire calendar in terms of lap time. So usually in the qualifying the gaps are pretty small. There are some tricky curves, especially turn 1 entry and exit, and the last 2 corner, it's pretty easy to leave the lap with all of your 4 wheels and then invalidate the time. So I need to keep it clean for the qualifying session, because then it's really hard to overtake when everyone has DRS around you. So I try to aim to be at the front of the field. Tire degradation is quite high because the softest 3 compounds are used. So I'm really interested to see the race strategy. It's good learning for us ahead of the F1 Esports World Championship as well. Thank you very much for your support and enjoy tonight.
Well, thank you, Danny Beresnay. And he is, again, we've heard it time and time again from the drivers, Jack. There is danger around every corner. You know, a lot of entertainment for spectators as well. And I think nothing can really come close to the entertainment we had not too long ago back in season 29. I say not too long ago, that feels like donkeys ago now. Obviously, that season, Jarno went on to take the title, but he also came up against fellow Mercedes teammates at the time, Danny Moreno.
Yes, that was where we had the infamous headphone smash moment. It was around here a couple of seasons ago. It's almost 3 seasons ago now. Back, of course, the final lap battle between himself and Danny Moreno coming up towards turn 3. They came to contact. Through went Fabrizio Donoso at the time to take a victory there, but did cause a lot of controversy afterwards. But it gave us, I suppose, a timeless moment in league racing history where we had the 2 teammates at Mercedes at each other's throats for a little while. So it was entertaining, plenty of drama, of course. But we talk about the championship briefly there for a second. Jarno, of course, didn't have the best day out last time, but he still leads the championship by just 4 points over Brendan Lee. But of course, that victory for Danny Berezne now brings him within 8 points of the championship lead. So now there's currently a 3-way fight for the title due to last week.
Yeah, I mean, he could yet be on to take an incredible, well, I think at this point it'd be his 6th title, I think at this point, which is truly unbelievable. 7th, I suppose, if you include the PlayStation Championship as well. Another driver who has been working hard to try and come back is Ismail Fassi, who has had his own challenges as well. Has missed out 3 races back to back to back. If we take a look back from Japan all the way through to Saudi Arabia and Belgium, didn't take part in any of those races, but he's only been outside the points in one of the races that he has taken part in so far this season. 2 of the races he has taken part in, including the very first round of the championship back at Bahrain, scored 4 points, well, at least finished 4th and scored an abundance of points for Williams. We actually checked up with him as well recently. Let's find out what he's been doing and how he feels about tonight.
Hi everyone, here Ismail Fassi, Williams Esports driver. Well, today is Wednesday, so tonight we've got PSGL around Austria, a track that I like a lot, actually, a fun track to drive. In terms of pace, I don't know what's it gonna be. Last time out in Mexico, really had a good pace in quali, but I just messed up my quali lap in Q1. And season so far, I've only raced 3 times, Bahrain, Silverstone and Mexico. We started the season really well in Bahrain. Podium was there. Then Silverstone, we also had good pace. We were in Q3, but misjudgment with the wet tires in the race, so we didn't score any points. And then in Mexico, like I said, I messed up quali in Q1. Also, my teammate Alvaro, we both had really good pace to be in Q3 and fight up there. And yeah, I managed to recover to P6, P7, I believe, from P16. So yeah, overall, I'm not that happy with my season. I know I could have done a lot better, but we will see tonight in Austria. Hopefully we will have a very fun race and we will enjoy it. Thank you.
Well, there we have it. Ismail Fassi back really to the circuit after a lengthy layoff. As I said, 3 races behind Jack. You've got to be cautious in circumstances like that because whilst obviously some drivers like to take a break, as we saw Tomek Paragic register the first soft tyre time really of the session, the first proper one at least, with a 1:03.514, obviously a time that will be surpassed. Barry Burman already out on the circuit here. You know, it's been a tricky season for Ismail, but at the same time, he's really grown into the F1 sim racing side of things. Coming up through F2, obviously was battling against Will Lewis for the F2 Championship. Really made his mark in F1 sim racing in the World Championship last season for the Williams team and picking up some sensational results. And in many ways, a real star where it comes down to strategy, following suit from the likes of Jarno Watmir. Both of them were taking very similar routes in terms of strategy last campaign, and it really paid off for him.
It did indeed. So and it's nice to have him back on the grid, of course. So, sometimes a break can do drivers good to come back refreshed and a chance to sort of step away from the game for a while and come back and see what happens there. So we'll keep an eye out for him, of course, in this race. But again, long way to go before we get to see what's on the cards as Barry Borman begins his first lap then. And well, he of course was in the mix last time out in Mexico. It didn't end up going his way, and he is still searching for that elusive victory, of course. And considering last week, and we had Nicolas Longue on pole, Barry Borman in 3rd, and ultimately it was no points on the board afterwards, really, at the end of the race results. I mean, it can't get much worse than last week for Ferraris. It's going to be just trying to build from that.
Yeah, I think so. He's already set, though, a purple first sector, so very easy dispatching Tomek Paragic's first sector time. 15.8 2:57 and has gone ahead and done a 28:152 in that middle sector. But he's just had the first sector time ripped away from him by Istvan Pukki as Barry Burman now rounds the Red Bull Mobile curve in the, well, it's meant to depict the Ferrari colours. Goes fastest, no surprise. But his teammate will not be far behind, though. Nicholas Longue invalidating his run. So we'll take a little look at Istvan Pukki, recent Mercedes acquisition. And I must say, a very wise acquisition at that. Truly one of the most underrated drivers on the grid, many will state. Tom Manley incidentally also going fastest in that middle sector, but Istvan Pukki is certainly not far behind. He's got a little bit of traffic in front of him, but they're ghosted, so no concern as he now rounds the final couple of corners through turns 10. He will go. Manley goes to the top, 103.239. Here comes Pukki. He goes to the top with his very own 103.184, Jack.
Expect the gaps to be very, very close here around Austria. You can see how quick the lap is as Otis Lawrence goes even quicker, 103.0 for him. So you'll see now that the gaps towards the end will be very, very tight indeed. Istvan Pukki second to Otis Lawrence, and then you have Jarno Wotmir slotting into third, same time as Thomas Gall there in fourth. So you're going to see a bit of that this week as well. Freddie Rasmussen currently just on his way back to the pit lane. Jake Benham also going to come back into the pits on his lap as well. Donoso's invalidated his run, so he won't be setting any further time. Nicholas Longue, last week's pole sitter then, is coming out of the final corner. He'll come across the line to go into 10th on a 103.328. Remember, this is just about getting through to the next part of qualifying, so if you're inside that top 15, that's where you want to be. Brendan Lee coming across the line now in his Sauber as they lead the constructors. Third for him on that first run. Then teammate Thomas Ronnar, who had the win taken away from him in the stewards room, he comes across the line now to go to second on a 103.153. But Kick Sauber taking the lead in the constructors. And just to remind you as well, we have 6 different winners so far this year. We're going for 7, and that would match the 2012 F1 season if we do that.
Yeah, truly absolutely mind-blowing, isn't it? I mean, Thomas Ronhart managing to usher in a decent time to get things underway. Jack, he's going to be feeling a little bit perturbed, do you think, after losing the win last time out? It was a bit frantic, a bit chaotic towards the end of Mexico.
It was very chaotic. If you did miss it, I would highly encourage you to go watch the final lap in particular, or the second to last lap, sorry, where drivers played DRS Chicken in the final sector. And but yeah, Thomas Ronnar got it taken away for a totally separate incident, of course. But he'll be looking to get back on the top step. I would say he'd be affected, but we know he won't be because, I mean, if we remember back a couple of seasons ago, I mean, Ronnar lost the title in the stewards room before, so this isn't new to him. But he has a chance to kind of get back up there again and become, technically now, the 7th different winner this season. But we've got plenty of others who could do that as well, of course. You may notice that we've 19 cars in the lobby as well. Lucas Blakely will be joining, and he will be starting at the back of the grid here in Austria as well. Of course, he was the winner from the opening round this season, so 5 others have taken victories as well in the form of Jarno Wotmir, Danny Beresnay, Nicholas Longue, Duncan Hoffland has taken a victory, and a number of others as well throughout the season. So we're going for a 7th one, and I think probably noticeably absent off that victory list, and who probably felt a little bit hard done by last time, was Brendan Lee, but he's only 4 points off the championship lead now.
Yeah, certainly not a bad place to be. Jake Benham currently 3rd fastest too, managing to usher in that 2nd lap time. So 2 fast runs registered on those soft tyres, likely invalidating the first. But he's not alone, because Shinaka Clay also invalidating his first run, as was Fabrizio Donoso. Obviously, Shinaka Clay's last time of 113.553 was done on the intermediate tyres. Wilson Hughes not wasting any time, though. He's going straight out. Another driver still looking to capture his very best form. If we look at Wilson Hughes' efforts so far, only twice has he appeared in the top 10. He finished in 10th place back at Silverstone and then P9 back at Mexico. Obviously, it was quite the fracas towards the very end of that race. But we'll have a chance now to come back and give himself a chance at maybe some better points on this occasion. But the sole car out on track as Nicholas Longue now comes out to join him. Still the big time to beat. The 103.063 that has been set by Otis Lawrence, who has now retired from the session. Istvan Pukki now making his way out onto the circuit and carrying on a load or a train of cars that are looking to join him there as well, as they look to try and bid an end to Q1 with the bottom 5 that, of course, will be eliminated come the end of the session. Lawrence will be hoping it won't be him, because he, of course, has retired at this stage. So a big lap here for Wilson Hughes. Needs this to get out of the drop zone, as we now ride on board here with the McLaren driver. Of course, raced for the McLaren team back in the F1 Sim Racing Championship last campaign alongside Lucas Blakely after Barry Burramann's departure. He was their number 3 driver the season before, and didn't get any racing time during the course of that season, which many might argue might have hampered him going forward. Jana Watmir retiring from the session as well, so there we go. Retiring from P7, but clearly believes that he has enough behind him. Maybe obviously looking to hold on to a set of tyres as opposed to using them all so early. Could be a power play here from Jana Watmir, but as we now ride on board through Roshenworth curve with Wilson Hughes, the Scot, looking to lift himself out of P16 and out to the bottom 5. Nicholas Longay currently sat on the bubble as well. Tomek Prajic further back, Shanaka Clay as well to be concerned about. He, of course, not yet setting a fast time on a set of soft tyres. Here comes Hughes, making his way up now towards the line. Enough for P12. Not necessarily safe, Jack, but it might be enough.
Certainly might be enough. I think it's an interesting call from Jana Watmir to go that early. 103.228. He feels he's safe on that, but you can see how many cars are on 103.2s right behind him. But is there enough improvement on the cars for the rest of them is the big question. So we'll keep an eye as we look to see now. Big laps for the Ferraris as well. Nicholas Longay coming through the final 2 corners now. He'll be the first car to come across the line to finish this set of runs out of the final corner. Needs to make sure it doesn't invalidate. This should be enough to see Longay through, and it is. He goes 3rd fastest, 103.156. Teammate Barry Borman through the final corner now as well. Crosses the start-finish line. Does he improve enough? He does. 103.192. Thomas Gall won't improve. He's invalidated. Ishmael Fassi, he'll cross the line now. Goes 2nd fastest. The other car to do a 3-0. Then Danny Beresney to make sure that he's safe behind as well. So this is going to be very interesting to watch. Shanaka Clay just makes it in, but may get knocked out further. Fabrizio Donoso hasn't put a representative time on the board yet, but he's on a lap now. Duncan Hoffland has crashed in the final corner, so that is a big loss for them, so he won't take any further part.
Yeah, no, that's a big blow as Tom Manley now crosses the line, going 3rd fastest. Otmir 2 spots away, or 3 from potential elimination. Hoffland already out. That's a huge shocker. Obviously, the driver that's just been announced as the new acquisition for the Aston Martin lineup ahead of the F1 Sim Racing Championship coming up very soon. As we now watch Fabrizio Donoso coming down through Slosh Gold. Unfortunate there for Shanaka Clay, obviously, to bow out so early too. Ishmael Fassi, though, however, a fantastic lap with that 103.085. But Otis, I must say, this is a larger flex for the young Welshman who went out earlier than this. Obviously wouldn't experience the track conditions at this point in qualifying, and naturally has held on to the top time. So well, that will give him a huge boon of confidence. Donoso, though, for the last time. This for safety for the Chilean as he now comes up towards the line now. Not enough. He's been eliminated. So that is both Aston Martins out in Q1. Hoffland and Donoso, 18th and 19th, Jack.
That's a big loss for them at the first race as a full-time driver for Duncan Hoffland, and unfortunately he'll be starting alongside Lucas Blakely down the back of the order. But a great call from Jana Watmir, from Brendan Lee, and from the others who decided to retire early. They make it through without needing to do a second run. But as you said, definitely a great call from Otis Lawrence. He did 2 runs. He did 2 runs, came straight back in, and he sets the fastest time and stays up at the front for now. So the bottom 5 as they would line up will be Shanaka Clay, Wilson Hughes, the 2 Aston Martins of Fabrizio Donoso and Duncan Hoffland, and George. Both McLarens not making it technically. Wilson Hughes doesn't make it, and Lucas Blakely obviously starting at the back. Yeah,
not easy at all. Obviously, remember, Blakely not in the session. That is why we have 19 cars out on the grid. He will be back for the race, everybody. But yes, disappointment, no doubt, for Fabrizio Donoso around a track that he has won at in the past. But let's take you through the results from Q1. Of course, we have 2 more sessions to bring you before we then decide who's going to take pole position. It's going to be quite the process and quite the battle, I am sure. Just waiting now for the results to pop up on our screen, and we will show them to you folks. But an incredible session there for Otis Lawrence to obviously gamble, get that top time. It was all about that 3rd sector, to be honest, a 19.086 to then grasp the 103 .063, which turned out to be 22 thousandths faster than the man in second place. We didn't actually get any results at all from any of that, so we will be heading into Q2 very shortly, so no results at all. We can't take you through them, unfortunately. So never mind, we will move onwards. What we can, though, discuss is obviously Shanaka Clay bowing out so early in qualifying. Let's hear from him looking ahead to tonight.
What is up, guys? Shanaka Clay here, part of the R8G esports team, and we are here today ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix here in PSGL, and it is going to be a very, very exciting race, also super complex, which may sound strange with the simplicity of the circuit, but that just exaggerates every little mistake you may make, and obviously you tumbling down the order. So you may see some shock exits in qualifying, some weather in the air is always possible in Austria, so let's see what happens coming down to that final lap.
Shock exits, he said, and I don't think he is too far wrong, really. I mean, a couple of names that we weren't necessarily expecting, one of them being Duncan Hoffland, Jack. I mean, based on his form lately, you would never ever expect Duncan Hoffland, I think, to be out in Q1.
No, definitely not, and certainly not, definitely not so early on. And both Aston Martins exiting. Fabrizio Donoso, former winner around here as well. You'd not expect him to be out so early. And Duncan, of course, is a winner from this season back in Saudi Arabia. It took me a few minutes to go and remember who the winners so far this season have been. And if we take a look, it's Otis Lawrence, Jarno Watmir, Lucas Blakely, Duncan Hoffland, Danny Beresnay, and Tom Manley are your 6 winners from this season so far. So there's plenty of others who could add their name to that list as well. So we'll wait and see if we manage to get that. But of course, as we've been talking about, nobody will want pole position this time, because I'm convinced there's something wrong with pole position this year.
It definitely looks that way. I mean, we saw that people had a problem with leading the race back at Mexico, so obviously it seems the case that no one really wants to lead at all this season, which is obviously kind of backwards when you think about it. But in this situation, Barry Burremand will be the first, or one of the first, to cross the line with a fast lap time. We'll be hoping that his time will be enough as well to register P1 come the end of Q2, or at least try and remain above the top 10, or in the top 10 before the end of the session, before that timer ticks to 0. Through the Rochenberg curve he will go. Let's ride on board here with the Iranian. Of course, a former PSGL champion in his own right back in season 32 and 33, where he went nose to nose with Thomas Ronhaar. First 2 sectors have been brilliant. Just lost the purple second sector to the man in 5th place, Jarno Watmir, his nemesis from years gone by. Barry on rails and has actually invalidated the lap. So unfortunately for him, it's not going to be a fast run. Barry is going to have to go again. Otis fastest again with a 103.671. Longe going second fastest. Jarno Watmir with a 103.261. A fantastic lap to get us underway, but he's not alone. Barry going again and looking to try and register yet another fast lap. But let's take a look further down, because Thomas Ronhaar, or should I say, there was another driver that went a little bit quicker. We lost tabs on them. Freddie Rasmussen looking for a fast run as well, making his way up towards the line, going second fastest. Red Bull 1 and 2 already as we enter with 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, and of course you would imagine that these are all going to be used tyres in those cars as well. So great opening laps set by Red Bull there, and especially from the Alpine of Joni Tormala, already improved from last week, of course. He didn't make it through to Q2 last week and came from the back of the grid to P10. He ended up getting points in the end of Joni Tormala, so possibly a little bit of confidence being gained right there from the Finn. So he's currently 4th in Q2. Of course, it's all about being in the top 10 for here. And this, I would argue, is probably one of the hardest sessions to get through to because of the shortness of the lap. If you can get through to Q3 at Austria, that is probably one of the biggest achievements that you can call yourself doing in league racing in this tier.
Yeah, absolutely right. Danny Beresnay, I think, will be delighted as well with his run, going 3rd fastest in the immediates. Tom Manley with a little bit of work to do, but such fine margins between everybody in the top 11 that have already registered times. Obviously 4 drivers that haven't registered a valid lap just yet, Brendan Lee being one of them. He's actually out on an out lap right now, as is teammate Thomas Ronhaar. So Kick Sauber doing something a little bit different, actually out of sync with the rest of the field, Jack. What's their thinking behind that?
I suppose clean air, but again, that's not really a thing either, because we have the collisions and ghosting are turned off. Well, collisions are turned off, which means ghosting is on. But possibly, I don't know, Brendan Lee getting a reference point off his teammate and all this kind of thing. But again, it's their own strategies. They like to try things out because, you know, collisions and ghosting might not necessarily be turned, be the same settings in F1 sim racing. So possibly a bit of testing going on here. Kick Sauber, of course, they're leading the Constructors' Championship as well. I've just taken over that lead from Red Bull. Rasmus and Jarno what we were leading it, but of course now, because of the poor results last week, they are now a couple of points behind, 7 points behind the lead Kick Saubers. So again, but I suppose it ensures that they get a lap on the board. But it's an interesting call, especially when there's no real chance of traffic or anything like that.
No, not at all. But I can tell you this as well, a very fine margins between Thomas Ronard's first sector and the fastest first sector belonging to Danny Berejnay. He's faster than Otmir, whips the tail out, coming through Red Bull Mobile curve, and it's invalidated his lap. Brendan Lee coming across the line. He'll go fastest, however, with his very own 103.217. There was only 1,000 between Ronhar and Brendan Lee coming out of Sector 1. They followed that trend near enough coming out of Sector 2, but Lee was better in that one, and he was also faster coming out of Sector 3. No surprise, obviously Ronhar struggling with track limits, but Brendan Lee, the two-time champion, back on top here in Q2 this time. So it's two-time champions, 1 and 2, with our latest and reigning Drivers' Champion in F1 Sim Racing, Freddie Rasmussen, in third. Quite the flex, the front three there, Jack.
Certainly is, yeah. It's a hell of a top three, hell of a top 5. Never mind that. You've got Danny Berejnay and Jori Tormala as well, top 5 currently. Of course, this is only Q2, so we have to keep that in mind. We haven't seen laps from Ronhar or Barry Borman, valid ones that is, just yet. Ronhar just going a tiny bit wide on the exit of the final corner. That's how he ends up getting that lap invalidated. But Brendan Lee and Jarno Watmere currently the quickest so far. And we wait to see who will get through to the next parts of qualifying. Nicholas Longe, you would imagine, has got a lot more pace in that car. Obviously used a set of tyres on the Ferrari, 103.75. Tom Manley as well, is from Pookie, Barry Borman, Ronhar as well. Ronhar always likes to go, he does tend to be the last car out on the track, especially in Q3. I think that seems to be his style of, he wants to be the final car across the line. Maybe the pressure of having set the lap and you only get one attempt at it and being the last car is probably a good reference point, because then I suppose he would know what to aim for.
Yeah, Tomi Paradzic so improving personal bests in the first and second sector, so this lap looks quick and he's already in the top 10. He will fly higher as he crosses the line, goes 7th fastest, but hold the phone. All eyes on Istvan Pukki. He's managed to register a purple first sector that's just been stripped away by Barry Burremand, both of whom have not set any lap time at all because they invalidated their first runs. But Istvan Pukki with a chance here to potentially save his bacon. First and foremost, though, we go to Burremand, who goes fastest straight away. Great lap there for Barry Burremand, and Longe, his teammate, joins him in second fastest. It's now on Pukki to respond. Needs to try and lift himself out of the bottom 5, as does Otis Lawrence, as they now run the final corner. Pukki's invalidated, and Otis goes quickest again. Otis Lawrence in the 102.907s, and that is 73 thousandths faster than Barry Burremand.
Hell of a lap from Otis Lawrence there, 102.90, the first 102s of the day from Otis Lawrence and from Barry Borman. Danny Berejnay going on a 103.0 for him. Istvan Pukki, we just avoided, just invalidating in that final corner. But it's all starting to happen now as Otmir does a 103.0, so he's just a couple of thousandths behind his former teammate Danny Berejnay, but again about a 1/10 of a second behind the fastest time of Otis Lawrence and from Barry Borman. That is a hell of a marker laid down by Otis Lawrence, and we still have some more cars that will have to do another set of runs. Again, as we have in the drop zone currently, Tomi Paradzic, Jake Benham, Ishmael Fassi, Istvan Pukki and Ronhar, who's now, of course, out of sync with everybody. He's going on his outlap now, as is Brendan Lee.
Yeah, Ishmael Fassi setting a 15.965 in the first sector. It's not, not overly competitive, but I think he's just looking to lay a marker down at the very least. Does pop in, though, into the top 10 with a P7 lap time of a 103.176. So a grand effort there from Ishmael Fassi, and also Jake Benham looking to register a faster time too. He's currently sat in the drop zone, just in behind Tomek Paragis, who did improve briefly and has now since been stripped of that top 10 positioning and has dropped into the elimination zone. But it's a great lap for Paragis, a grand display being in Q2, showing that he is competitive still at this level. Let's see though if Benham can lift himself off the bottom. Barry Burman retiring, obviously feels that he's safe, and no surprises, especially being in a 102, as now here comes Benham up towards the line this time. 8th fastest, goes higher than Brendan Lee. That will be enough for safety should it remain like this, but never say never. We still have 5 minutes and 10 to go.
Yeah, and Brendan Lee's on a quicker lap now as well. He's a 200ths up in the first sector, a half a tenth up in the middle. So this is going to be a good improvement for Brendan Lee. This would, in his hopes, cement himself safely into Q2 as he comes through the final 2 corners. Now needs to make sure that he doesn't invalidate here. Throws the car to the final corner, keeps it within track limits, crosses the line now, and he would go to 6th fastest, 103.128. Teammate Thomas Ronnar has invalidated again, George. So another invalidation for Thomas Ronnar. He'll have to go again.
Yeah, there you can see the red coloured track map in the bottom right. That tells you folks at home that that is an invalid lap time, which effectively, Jack, this is a position that Ronhard doesn't want to be in here. Not a single time registered. Pookie's in the same boat, but with Ronhard not setting a lap time, it means that essentially it's a 1 lap dash to at least register a fast lap time. And especially in Q2 where things get rather fraught, you know, drivers on the brink of elimination, arguably more so than you are in Q1, because at least you have 15 spots where you can, you know, hold on to safety. In this case, you need to be in the top 10. There's no time for second guessing.
There isn't. No, I think he validated quite early in the lap because he's managed to recharge the battery and he's going again. But we'll see what happens in this second sector, or the final sector, sorry, if he decides to peel into pit lane to try and get another set of tyres on. But this is not ideal for Thomas Ronnar. Of course, he took on-track victory last week, and then of course had the win taken away after the stewards' inquiries came in. So here comes Ronnar then into the final sector, and we'll get an idea. What does he decide to do? Does he decide to come into the pit lane, or is he going to finish this lap? He is going to finish this lap just to get something on the board. Comes out of the final corner right now. What is it from Thomas Ronnar? Crosses the line now. 3.0, pulls it out of the bag.
That is a spectacular lap time, especially on tyres that now have 2 laps worn into them. Not that it would do too much in terms of the actual grip levels, but Ronhard managing to register a very strong lap time. Ironically, no one in the top really holds more than 1 purple sector. Ronhard didn't actually nail down a single purple sector on that lap. The purple sectors actually went the way of Danny Berejne and Jarno Otmir, and also Otis Lawrence, of course, who once again registers the fastest Sector 3 time. Sector 3 seems to be the catalyst for Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, Sector 3 is all about commitment, of course, because it's only a couple of corners. It's just it's basically the final 2 corners is Sector 3. You have to be committed, and track limits will be your enemy through there, of course. So Ronnar now should be safe on that, but of course he's not going, at the moment, he's not going to get another run on those. So I think he's going to have to wait and see, but he should be pretty safe on that, considering Danny Berejne has decided that he's going to be safe on a 3.027. So either way, still plenty to come. Ishmael Fassi, though, of course, the Saubers were out of sync with everybody, so Ishmael Fassi now on his lap. He's already almost a 10th up in Sector 1.
Yeah, looking really strong. Nicholas Longue also out on a lap, but we'll head across to Ishmael Fassi. Yes, 64 thousandths to the good so far, and he's not far off the bubble of elimination, so needs a big lap here. He said he likes this track. Needs to now dig deep and find something in the closing stages. The top 4 have all retired from Q2. It's now or never if you want to try and grab yourself a spot entering into Q3 for the pole lap shootout. Here comes Fassi, heading down through towards the in-swinger. This next right-hander, the Williams driver, looking to ascend once more in his quest for further points here in PSGL, coming through out of turn 10 and up towards the line. Ishmael Fassi invalidating that run, and that's going to be key because he's 9th fastest and there's plenty of fast drivers in behind, Jack.
Yeah, that was it. Last quarter invalidation. He got a 3.066, which was enough to go in front of Longue. And Longue did improve. He invalidated as well. So there's invalidations all across the board here as we wait to see now a couple more cars still to come. I think Yoni Tormala will be in the final sector very soon, as will Jake Benham. He's on a big improvement as Jake Benham. Out of the final corner comes Jake Benham on the bubble right now. Goes to second, 2.970 for Jake Benham. Great effort. Yoni Tormala goes 7th fastest as we wait for a couple more still to finish laps. So now it's currently Rasmussen in the drop zone P11. Istvan Pukki now goes into P7. Now it's danger for Brendan Lee as Tom Manley goes second. Here comes Rasmussen. Brendan Lee in the drop zone. Here comes Rasmussen, goes second fastest. Now it's all pressure on for the championship contender in Brendan Lee. Jarno's currently in and is also improving as well. Nicholas Longue in the drop zone. Plenty to keep your eyes on across the board here now as we wait to see who is going to get through to Q3 here in Austria. I think the first car to do it, Longue's backed out of it, so he's not going to make it through. Brendan Lee is in the final sector now. This is a big lap for the championship contender. 4 points off the championship lead. Has to make it through to Q3 if Jarno does it as well. Into the final 2 corners now. Looking good from Brendan Lee as he heads into the final corner now. Keeps it all tidy. Crosses the line now. Is it enough to get through? No. Brendan Lee is out in Q2 here in Austria. And that will be, I don't think anybody else is on an improvement behind. Thomas Gall is actually. He's the only car who can beat anybody in front of him as he comes to the final 2 corners. Crossing the line now, Thomas Gall, the reserve driver. Does he make it? No, he doesn't. Big shocks here, George. Longue and Brendan Lee exit in Q2.
Yeah, that is a huge shock. Championship contender Brendan Lee, we call him the real OG. Of course, we saw Jarno Opmeer actually get eliminated from qualifying last week at Mexico. He finished in P12 as well. This time it's the turn of the other 2-time F1 Sim Racing Drivers' Champion to now bow out here in Q2. That is certainly not ideal, not in the storybook for Brendan Lee. The OG's out and will not take a shot at pole position, but it's a welcome return for Yoni Tormala, Jack Yanan. He'll be heading through to Q3 for the first time in a very long time.
Yeah, great effort from Yoni Tormala. That'll be popular for Yoni Tormala. Through to the top 10 shootout for the first time in a while. Considering he was 20th last week, that is a good improvement. And he makes it through by 0.002 of a second, beating out Nicholas Longue with that as well. But Otis Lawrence tops the session again, and he looks like he's going to, at the moment, he's got the measure of everybody. He beats Freddie Rasmussen, Tom Manley, Jake Benham, Barry Borman, Thomas Ronnar, Jarno Opmeer, Danny Beresney, Istvan Pukki, and Yoni Tormala. Those are your top 10 going through to Q3. But the biggest shocks, Nicholas Longue, the pole sitter from last week, and Brendan Lee, championship contender in P12. But big, of course, the other championship contender in the form of Danny Beresney is through to Q3.
Yeah, some major shocks there, Jack. Immense shocks. Obviously, Brendan Lee being one of the biggest, and of course losing Nicholas Longue in the way we have as well. Incidentally, Jack, the incredible thing that we're witnessing with Otis Lawrence here, he's the only driver in the 18s for Sector 3. Everyone else is in the 19s. That Sector 3 is proving to be the catalyst. Otis capable of risking it, I think, that little bit more than other drivers. Perhaps he's got it hooked up in terms of the setup. Seems to have found a way to make it happen for him in Sector 3. And that, for me, I think, is where he's getting his lap time from. He is absolutely rapid around that section.
Yeah, he obviously has a car that inspires confidence in that final sector. But I'm bringing the point back. Do you really want to start on pole that we've seen so far this year? Nobody's won from it. Nobody's even got a top 5 out of it. So, again, with the slipstream effect as well, there's going to be so much swapping around that, I mean, pole position is not necessarily the best place to start. And of course, Otis did take a victory in Spa from playing his cards right and being second on the final lap. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, obviously, folks, this is where we call to you guys at home, our distinguished viewers, wherever you're watching in the world, whether you're watching on YouTube or Twitch. Great to see you guys, by the way. It's time for you guys to get involved and let us know who you think is going to take pole position here at Spielberg. You've got quite the raft of drivers to pick from, and many of them are former race winners. I'm not sure whether all of them are race winners here at this point, but I can tell you that Tom Manley, if you remember, was a victor back at Silverstone in one of the most bizarre races I think we're ever going to see in League League racing history. I'm already seeing some names though. James Head saying Otis for pole. You could be right there, sir. I think you could be absolutely spot on, and he's making his way around onto his fast run, looking to try and hook this up. Let us know. Oscar Mandock saying plot twist, nobody gets pole. That's a lie, sir. Everyone has a chance at getting pole here. Keep them coming, folks. I put my bets on Ron Haas, says Quackala. Let us know. Keep those comments coming in and we'll read them out. Otis on a lap though, Jack, and once again looking fast.
He is indeed. I can tell you from this season, 4 of these drivers have taken a victory this season already. But I think Connor making a good point there. They've all won a race in PSGL at some point. So a couple of seasons ago. So that must be one of the first there that every car in Q3 has taken a race victory at some point in their PSGL careers. So we wait and see. That is including Joni Tormala, of course. We have to think all the way back to I think the second season of PCF1 at Zandvoort, where changeable conditions favoured him and he came through to take a victory there. So, but again, 4 of these drivers have taken a victory this season alone as Otis Lawrence crosses the line now, and we'll see a 102.934 straight out of the box. Now, that's 300 slower than he went in the first parts of Q2, and Ronar suddenly pulls a 2.8.
Yeah, he did a 19.051 as well in the final sector. Joni Tormala now coming across the line, a 103.399, not in the 102s like Lawrence and Tormala, but already out of the blocks, Ronhar and Lawrence flexing those 102s, and I must say, getting into the 1028s, Jack, that is sensational.
Yeah, that's a marker down. That's letting them know, listen, I'm here for it as well. Otis Lawrence might have topped both sessions, but that's the marker that Ronar has to aim for now. But again, there's so little to choose between them. Otis Lawrence at a 102.907 in the first part of Q2. So that is, of course, just a couple of thousands separating them there. So this will be very interesting to watch, this pole battle, because there's a high chance, and we've seen it last week, of course, between second and third, who set the same lap time. There's a high chance that pole position may be separated by absolutely nothing.
Yeah, you could be right, and I'm already reading through the chat. The chat are divisive as well, folks. All of you have mentioned who you think is going to get pole. TF10 Dirk saying Ron half a pole. For me, Jarno says Stefano. SP15. I'll be pole, says Pleasy. Well, you're pole here in PSGL, here in the live chat. Thank you so much for joining us. Joker Up Gaming, Jarno pole, and I'll be on pole, says Manas Junaja. Come on, guys, share the wealth. We have got also further down, it's Jake's time to shine, says Peaceful Mind Sounds. Keep them coming, everybody. We've got Jarno Pole, says Stanky Gruffalo. We've got Alfie Loves F1 saying Freddie. We've got Freddie Chapmanson, says Augustin Gian Catarino. Apologies for butchering that name. P1 for Otis, says Kyle. P2 for Ron. P3 for Frederick. Rachel Riley is pole position. She's a lovely presenter. We've also got Purely Pog as well, saying Freddie Rasmussen. Wilson on pole, says Jack West. We've got Danny, says Rebexi Robesh as well. Berechne says Villa Kapanen. We've got Tengi saying Otis. Tom Manley pole says two. I'm not reading that name out. Aline Venerion. Binham for sure. Easy Jarno pole, says Robert Parrish. Keep them coming, everybody. Jack West, I doubt that will ever happen, says Colm. James O'Neill. I don't know what you said, Jack, but nevertheless, we'll read back through it. Ben Willis saying Binham Masterclass. George on pole, says Gio. Let's find out together, everybody. Already the times are coming in furiously. Freddie Rasmussen going purple in the middle sector. Purple in the first sector, though, for young Jake Benham. But Jarno is going to be the first of the Red Bulls to make his way across the line. Danny Berejne will also cross the line very soon as well. But Otmir first of the bunch makes his way towards the line. Enough for fourth fastest, but Rasmussen hails higher than Thomas Ronhar. The first blows being struck by the Great Dane, a 102.865, Jack.
He has a tendency to do that, doesn't he? Here comes Jake Benham crossing the line now, just behind him, very close. Jake Benham, 102.878 for him. And now this is a very interesting pole battle. Rasmussen has a habit of pulling laps out of the bag like that, and he goes to provisional pole position. Jake Benham, though, second fastest, 878. Thomas Ronnar, 102.891, and Otis Lawrence is now on another push lap and is already finding time. Sector number 1, 100th of a second up right now, so he's accepting the challenge laid down to him by the guys in front of him here as he comes down into Sector 2 now. This will be, of course, Sector 3. seems to be his strong point in the Aston Martin. Of course, it was announced to the team a couple of weeks ago, took a victory in Spa on the day that he was announced here at PSGL, as he comes now into Sector 2, and he's 800 up. This is going to be, I think, a provisional pole lap for Otis Lawrence as he comes down in towards Sector 3 now. This is where he's been strong all day. Into the final 2 corners he goes. The car losing the rear end, and that's the invalidation. And you could see it on the way in. The car got all out of shape on him as he turned the car in. He'll cross the line anyway, and that was a 102.73, George.
That's unreal. A 102.732, which would have placed him right at the very top. I can tell you that, folks. That's really unfortunate there for Otis Lawrence, and a really bizarre place to get it all wrong as well. Coming through turns 8, obviously it's not really difficult to understand that turns 9 and 10 can offer you an invalidation, but Ronhaar just getting it a little bit too tight on the inset running through Jochenrindt corner. So that's certainly caused an imbalance in terms of his lap time. So really unfortunate there for the young Welshman. And Thomas Ronhaar also invalidating, remember, that first run as well. Well, his previous run, he did a 15.8, which was then marked in red. And also Tom Manley and Danny Berejnay, both their last runs were also invalidated. So they have yet to set their first laps, and their first laps could be their only laps of the session as well. A lot of frustrations as well from the Otis Lawrence fans, those of you in the live chat watching on as well. This kid, though, has been pulling up trees since he's become part of PSGL, and now has been rightfully rewarded, Jack, with a seat at Aston Martin. And what a talent this young man could be.
Certainly is, yeah. He's already taken a race victory this season and is trying to secure himself a pole position here at Austria. Probably the most competitive pole position, but I can tell you, it's probably a little bit of I suppose, scariness for the rest of the drivers. But that lap, had he finished it, would have been pole by well over 1/10 of a second compared to Freddie Rasmussen. So we know that Otis has got the pace, but did he? Again, turning into that second to last corner, just committed a bit too much. The rear stepped out in him. But you can see he has confidence, he has pace to burn, has Otis Lawrence. But does anybody else have an answer for it, is the question. Is there more time for the likes of Thomas Ronhaar, for Freddie Rasmussen? Do they have more time in the bag? Do guys like Tom Manley, Danny Berejnay fancy it? Danny Berejnay, of course, invalidated his run on his tyres, so he's going to have to go again. He'll have 1 or 2 attempts as Barry Borman exits the pit lane now. A man who's won here before. And again, he'll be trying to get himself on the board for Ferrari. It's almost a shock, really, that neither of the Ferrari drivers have taken a victory this season. But I think the only team that has taken 2 victories, or both of their drivers have taken a victories, unusually, is actually Aston Martin.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely spot on. It's bizarre, really. I mean, it's sensational to see. I mean, obviously Duncan Offland winning back at Saudi Arabia. And not only that, picking up a fastest lap as well in the process. Some good points stolen by Aston this season, though. However, but you've got to look at Barry Burman. This is his track. This is a circuit that he has won at twice in the past. Season 32-33, won it with Ferrari. He then won it with McLaren. The very first time of asking when we arrived here in season 27 at PCF1. He is the only driver here at Austria to have taken victories with 2 different teams, and now he's looking to go and take his second under the Ferrari banner as well. All dressed in red. Barry Burman will be hoping that the lap time this time isn't red and will hopefully be green, maybe purple. That would be ideal, wouldn't it? Heading through towards Lauda at turn 1. He'll then fly uphill, and he has. It's all dressed in red. I feel like I think I cursed that, Jack. Hate to say it.
That was horrendous. That was horrendous. Literally the first apex, and he invalidated. But thankfully for him, the lap is so short around here, he will get another attempt. Danny Berejnay, though, he's on his first attempt to try and get a lap time on the board. And of course, he's the only championship contender who has made it through to Q3 that's close on points. He's 8 points behind Jarno Wotmeijer. He's actually backed out of it already, so he's laying his cards on the table for the last run here. And I can tell you, Istvan Pukki's also invalidated, so there's red all across the board, George.
Yeah, and that's bad news for Pukki because he's currently sat 6th fastest. He's the lowest in the 102s. Jake Benham, though, is still persevering on this run. Currently sat 2nd fastest and ushered in probably one of his finest lap times I think we've seen in PSGL this season, and you never know. I wouldn't write off the one, the only Jake Benham. Of course, one of the grandest prospects to come through the Mercedes fold, and also really came through on the Xbox platform and truly delivered for the likes of Comrade Gaming. Goes fastest with a 102.846, and that's 19 thousandths quicker than Freddie Rasmussen. Fantastic lap for the All-Star.
Yeah, great lap from Jake Bell. I felt he had a bit more time in. It looks like there was a mistake in the final corner from him, but he takes provisional pole for now. Tom Manley is the next car that exits the final corner. Now on the power, heads towards the start-finish line. What is it from Tom Manley? Fourth fastest for him behind. Here comes Jarno Watmere, and he goes quickest. 102.804 by 400ths. Takes provisional pole for now. Does anybody have an answer behind is the question. There's still more times. Thomas Ronnar 600ths up on his best time in Sector 1 alone. I think he's the quickest through there at the moment. He'll be one of the last cars to cross the line, but the one man we need to keep our eye on, George. The last two corners now for Otis Lawrence. He doesn't get it wrong this time, the first part. Into the final corner now. This is really quick from Otis Lawrence. What is it going to be for the Welshman? Crosses the line. It's a 102.51. He takes provisional pole position. Does Barry have an answer? No, he doesn't. 102.821. Provisional pole then for Otis Lawrence. Does anybody else have an answer behind? Danny Beresney goes 8th fastest in his car behind. As we wait now for the final few cars, there could still be more on the table. Here comes Ronnar exiting the final corner for him. 2nd fastest, 200ths of a second behind. Anybody else going quicker? Rasmussen is on a good lap here as well. Still plenty to keep your eyes on. Istvan Pukki through the final two corners now. He comes and invalidates in the final corner. So it's all up to Freddie Rasmussen. Does he have an answer for that 102.751? Here he comes across the line. Yes, he does. 102.727 for Freddie Rasmussen, and he steals pole position at the very last possible moment. It's the F1 Esports World Champion on pole.
The Great Dane was in stealth mode through the first portions of the season. He's had troubles, he's had difficulties, retirement central for the Great Dane, but now he's back. He's purple and returning here to Austria, Red Bull's homeland, and he has brought them pole here this time in round 7. Truly unbelievable by Freddie Rasmussen, 24 thousandths faster than Otis Lawrence sat in 2nd place. The young man thought he had it, but Rasmussen said, no, you haven't. He's on top and will be on the front row, leading at the front as well, in towards Lauda corner at turn 1. Thomas Ronnar ushering in the 3rd fastest time. Jarno Watmere, though, Rasmussen's teammate. 2 Red Bull drivers on the front 2 rows. It is going to be unbelievable. A fantastic performance from the Great Dane. It's been a long time coming. We haven't seen the best of him, but he is back this time. A 102.727, enough to grant Freddie Rasmussen with pole position ahead of Otis Lawrence. They will share the front row with Lawrence 24 thousandths in behind. Ronnar in 3rd, Otmere in 4th, Barry Burmand in 5th, then Jake Benham in 6th place. Tom Manley 7th, Danny Beresney in 8th, Istvan Pukki in 9th, and Joni Tormla on his return to Q3 has only just recently joined the championship. A great effort on his part, and he managing to achieve P10. So we'll wait to see what he's going to be able to do, folks. But yes, we're gobsmacked. I tell you what, I bet you guys are at home as well. What a qualifying session that truly was, folks. We're going to be right back, should I say, to digest it all. Don't go away. Well, welcome back, everybody. That was truly a fantastic performance on part of some of our sensational drivers out there on circuit. It was quite the fight. But we love good fights, and I have to tell you, I didn't think anyone was going to top the times that we saw in quali right at the first stint, Jack. But they did, and didn't they just? How many swappers was there for P1 towards the bitter end? Got to be about 4 or 5, right?
It was impossible to predict, really, towards the end of that. And it's an oddly similar grid to Spa, I would say. Rasmussen took pole there, of course, and ended up in the wall. So he'll be trying not to replicate that this time. Otis Lawrence took the victory that day. So Otis, I don't think, is going to be he's probably not going to be too annoyed. He'll be annoyed that he was pipped by a very small margin. But of course, Thomas Ronnar starting 3rd again as well. And plenty of drivers who are kind of of out of position as well. We've got Brendan Lee and Nicholas Longay starting 11th and 12th. You've got Lucas Blakely, who's going to be down in last. See what he can do from there. And I think this is going to be a crazy Grand Prix.
I don't know what happened, but my actual screen just changed altogether. It changed the image.
What's wrong with us?
Yeah. So that was weird. But yeah, onwards and upwards. I've never had that before. But yeah, guys, really, really excited ahead of this race here this afternoon. I hope you guys are doing well in the chat, by the way. And if you haven't done so already, it's time to plug the socials. Yes, if you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a like here on YouTube as well. Keep them coming. Don't forget to check out the Twitch as well. If you tune in on Twitch, big hello. It's a new platform for us as of recent times. Hit that follow button and stay up to date with when we go live here on PSGL, and check out at PremierSimGL on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Incidentally, folks, we do have new graphics for me because obviously my Instagram was hacked not too long ago. Well, not hacked actually. They put through a mistaken report that Instagram got wrong. They actually unduly apologized to me. It's no longer It's George Morgan. They've given me back George Morgan TV. So you can check that out as well, and also leave a like. And you can also check Jack out as well. Jack C Comms, and it's where you can find him too. So yeah, we'll plug those at the very end, like we always do. Nothing really has changed in that regard, everybody. But yeah, I mean, Jack, obviously this circuit, let's go through it again, because I mean it's one to really grasp hold off by the haunches, because it is fast paced. There are challenges. We saw it in qualifying. Elimination, or should I say invalidation city around here, as we witnessed in quali.
Yeah, those kind of final two corners, you have to be committed through there to try and maximize the lap time. But if you go even a touch wide, that will result in an invalidation for you, as we've seen plenty of drivers do that. Isfan Pookie, of course, was on for a great lap and he invalidated in the final corner. So plenty of, even though the track is very short, there's still lots of action points around here, heading up towards turn 3, and then you've got the run to turn 4 and 5, where we've seen plenty of battles over the years as well. We hark back to that opening race between Jarno Motmir and Barry Bormand, of course. A great battle that they had, and they're, of course, sharing a row with the grid here.
Yeah, they certainly are. Plenty of overtaking opportunities here, folks. Remember, turn 3 is the opportune one. Heavy braking zone, of course. You need to be cautious heading through to that part of the circuit. But remember, 10 corners around this track, so plenty of other places where you can get the moves done. Turn 4, also another opportunity, but Rochenwerth curve, we've seen many drivers go wheel to wheel heading through that part of the circuit. But then, of course, we've even seen moves being made through Rint Corner before then beckoning in towards turn 10, where you ideally want the move one and done even prior to that bend, because it's really fast-paced, as we saw from the likes of Otis Lawrence and obviously Freddie Rasmussen, who went to the top. But yes, it's going to be a thrill ride. It's going to be an exceptional fight. And I have to tell you, folks, we've seen the championship. We're going to take another little look at the championship and how the stats kind of line up here. Drivers' Championship, as you may remember, Jarno Motmir on top, 55 points, clear of Brendan Lee, who's on 51. 4 points is all that separates them. We could be in the midst of a massive change tonight in the championship swing, though it's going to be unlikely because Lee is starting in P12. Danny Berejnay, though, further back with every chance. We saw what he was able to do back at Mexico with Ronha receiving the penalty. It was Berejnay who picked up the crumbs, and yet again we had a different race winner this season. Tom Manley, who has already won a race as well. Remember, he won that rain-soaked Silverstone race where many different tyre strategies were out on show, but Manley's prevailed and he managed to win that one. And obviously coming off that, currently 4th in the standings, 34 points with Lucas Blakely, who has missed a few. And I think if you factor in the fact that Blakely has missed a few here, Jack, 28 points and 5th place in the championship isn't really a bad place to be.
No, it isn't. He's up there. He's in the top 5 in the championship, even with missing, I think, 3 rounds, which is again pretty good going from Lucas Blakely. He took a victory in the opening round. Let's not forget as well. So still plenty to keep your eyes on there. I think it's incredible, really. Brendan Lee only 4 points off the championship lead, and he hasn't won a race yet. It's round number 7. Consistency for Brendan Lee is what is paying off now. So we'll keep an eye on his progress today and see if he can get himself back up towards the front, or if he can take that elusive victory that he's been waiting for. I can tell you Lucas Blakely has joined the lobby, so he will be here with us doing last question mark challenge for him as well. So plenty to keep your eyes on. And you'd have to imagine, George, at this rate, surely Freddie Rasmussen's look has to change at some point.
You would have thought so. I mean, if you take a look at some of his previous results, I mean, coming into this particular round and not appearing on the podium once, Jack, and that feels bizarre, I would say, when we talk about Freddie Rasmussen, just given the quality. Not only is he an F1 sim racing champion, but obviously he's also the Formula E Accelerate champion as well. He's won that. He's part of the Team Redline organisation. He's represented at LAN events. He took part in ESL R1 during its first year and has been part of the F1 sim racing championship for such a long time and has been a runner-up 5 years, in fact 6 years running, only now recently taken the championship. Truly unbelievable stats against the Great Dane, and arguably, statistically, despite only having one championship win against his name, arguably you could state a real case that he is the most successful F1 sim racing driver of all time, Jack.
You certainly could. I mean, the weight he had to go through to even get the championship was incredible, and to stay at that top level and finally secure it shows the level that he is at, of course. Of course, we could see at the Constructors' Championship there, Red Bull now behind Kick Sauber after last week. So great job from Thomas Ronnar from Brendan Lee to take the championship lead. Mercedes not too far behind either, but Sauber looking like the ones to beat at the moment. Really strong lineup of Brendan Lee and Thomas Ronnar. I can tell you we're loading in very, very soon. So there's going to be plenty to talk about in this race. We don't know the weather yet either. So if we could get something, if it ends up being like Silverstone plus Austria, this could be chaos.
It could well be chaos, folks. You can see we're just waiting for the session to load in, and very shortly we will be going green here at Spielberg. It's going to be a thrill ride. Obviously, we want to hear from you. Get your predictions in. Who's going to take the victory here tonight? Jack, I'm going to throw it to you. Who's impressed you the most?
Oh, I mean, Rasmussen impresses me with his consistency, but who do I think is going to win? Thomas Ronnar.
Well, I tell you what, you wouldn't be far wrong picking that one, and I think Ronnar is going to be baying for blood after losing out on the victory back at Mexico. So I would say you've got a good chance of that happening. Obviously, let us know, folks. I can already see Double Boy coming out and saying Brendan Lee, the most successful ever. Well, arguably, if you look at the first two championships, yes, but he's been outside of the top end of the F1 Sim Racing Championship for quite a long time and hasn't won a Sim Racing League Racing title in a long time either. Of course, it's been a long time since the AOR days, remember, folks. We've also got Rush Hill coming in as well. Lots of people saying Yarno, to Cool Kip 8000 saying Yarno, as is Gabby Boy. We've got Super Daddy saying P1 for Yarno, and we've also got Brendan making a surge lately, though. Yes, he certainly is, and you never know. We could yet see him back at his very best. I think a League Racing title, that could turn his season or career around, as now we have all the lights getting lit here at Spielberg. And it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Great start there for Freddie Rasmussen. Falling in behind is Otis Lawrence. Thomas Ronnar, third place, now coming through towards turn one. He's being encroached, though, on by Jake Benham. Jarno Opmeer also part of all this too, as we now make the climb up the hill through towards turn three. Opmeer now putting the squeeze on Thomas Ronnar. The two Dutch counterparts, wheel to wheel, heading up through turn three this time as they peel on out. Ronnar with enough behind him to withstand the pressure by the Flying Dutchman, but it's Rasmussen who leads. Opmeer back on the attack, side by side, coming in through towards Losh Gold. Still they run side by side, still wheel to wheel. Ronnar trying to pressurise him. The tyres are getting all squirrely underneath his car, and now Benham comes in on the attack. Oh, Jake Benham, that is sensational. He beat past his former teammate, heading through Rochenberg curve, and he might yet get Thomas Ronnar as well.
Almost caught Ronnar as well. Though they're on the mediums, of course. Jake Benham and Barry Borman, alternate strategy for them, but Jarno loses 2 places through there. What a move by Jake Benham, committed around the outside on those medium tyres, and he now comes across the line, but Rasmussen hangs on to the race lead from Otis Lawrence, from Thomas Ronnar. Then it's Jake Benham and Barry Borman on the mediums, as is Danny Beresnay. They are the only cars on an alternate strategy. Here comes Danny Beresnay now moving way past Jarno Opmeer. Alternate strategy for those 3 cars in 4th, 5th and 6th as Otis Lawrence swaps now for the lead up front. So plenty to talk about there just alone, as there's now swapping the places between Nicholas Longe and Brendan Lee, who've moved up a place each in their own regard as now the lead swaps around. You'll see plenty of that today, plenty of action throughout the order as well, but no big position gains for a couple of drivers there, namely Lucas Blakely, started down the back, has not made any ground at the moment. Biggest mover is only 2 places for Danny Beresney, Jake Benham, Ishmael Fassi and Wilson Hughes.
Yeah, purple first sector as well for Thomas Ronhar. He's now looking to go on the attack of Otis Lawrence, but we've just seen a huge fight as well erupting between Istvan Pukki and Tom Manley. Manley coming out the better on this occasion. Barry, I think, getting a little bit tight coming through the final corner, and Benham, who has got wing damage on the front left of his front wing, now losing out to Ferrari's own Barry Burman and Danny Beresney, now looking to follow suit as they head up through towards turn 1. Beresney, Benham's teammate, careering on through. You do have to wonder whether Benham is saying, I'm going to let you through, carry on, put the pressure on Barry, as Otis takes the lead, Jack.
Yeah, there's Danny Beresney past Barry Borman, Jarno Watmere as well. There's more contact behind as Benham now struggling to hang on with the wing damage, but he's not happy with Barry Borman in that final corner overtake. So here comes now 3 wide we go down towards turn number 4 and turn number 5. Watmere on the inside. He's on the hard tyres compared to these guys. This is costing them time battling away like this, and he has to sit behind. But Beresney, the beneficiary of all of that fighting as they continue to go side by side. Jake is trying his desperate to hang on. He's ends up in the gravel. Going to lose a ton of places now with that broken front wing, and continues to fall down the order, and nothing that he can do about this. Is may have to end up in a pit stop for Jake Benham here.
I think it does. He's losing so much time, losing so much grip, losing so many places, but chooses to remain out. Truly bizarre decision making there on part of young Jake Benham, who now sees himself down into 12th place after losing a partial amount of his front wing. There it is, the visible damage, no end plate on the side of his car. Obviously that's going to hurt. Obviously the all-star, who's now coming under pressure from Ishmael Fassi, and the rest of them further up, as now it's Jarno Watmere and Barry Burman coming together, and Watmere ascends, as does Tom Manley. Breaks past the Ferrari driver. Barry Burman now down into 7th. Watmere now looking to try and close up on the 1.2 second gap between he and his former teammate, Danny Beresney.
Yeah, this is the problem for them now. That fight has cost them DRS. They're going to have to work a little bit harder to get up to these lead trains. Rasmussen, Otis Lawrence, Thomas Ronhar, they're happy to work with each other. Danny Beresney closing up to them now as well. Jarno should be back in that DRS very soon, but it wasn't an ideal scenario for them there to try and deal with as they come now down towards this race. Of course, is going to go by very, very quickly. 36 laps around Austria. We're already on lap number 5 as they come across the line. Freddie Rasmussen from Otis Lawrence, from Thomas Ronhar. Jarno Watmere now getting himself back into the DRS of the leaders here. Danny Beresney holding station on the medium tyres. He did well to avoid all that chaos. Jake Benham with the wing damage now down in 12th. Position swaps behind as Istvan Pukki on the attack on Barry Borman. This is not working out for Barry, and he has to come and sit behind Istvan Pukki for now. So really the only person this has worked out for the mediums is Danny Beresney.
Yeah, it's a lottery at the moment in terms of who's going to finish where. Otis Lawrence and Freddie Rasmussen, though, swapping for the lead once more, heading up through towards turn 3. The Welshman now out in front and looking to hold on to it, though, swapping with DRS obviously will work in the favour for Otis Lawrence and Freddie Rasmussen, because if they go long on these hard tyres, they can negate the strategy put in place by Danny Beresney, who will of course have to box earlier. Remember, all the drivers say the hard tyre is a good race tyre, and if they can make it work, then all the better for them. Beresney needs to make work, needs to use these mediums and try and disrupt the top 3 who are all on that hard tyre compound.
Yeah, I suppose he's thinking he wants to be on the hard tyre at the end of the race. If the hards are a really good race tyre, would you rather be on them than the mediums towards the end? Of course, it all depends on tyre life as they continue to swap up front as Rasmussen goes back to the front, takes his turn as Barry continues to drop. Longuet now moving in front of him, so you'd have to wonder, does Barry have damage as well on his car as he comes through the next part of the corner? He's now under pressure from Brendan Lee, who's biding his time there in P10. Does he fancy an overtake on Barry here as they come down towards turn 5? Inside line for him there. Brendan Lee down the inside, gets it stopped. Barry almost running out of space right there. They'll go side by side as they head towards turn number 6, but there's nothing Barry can do about it, and he falls down another place right there. So big struggles on the board for Barry.
Yeah, Barry's really starting to see his race kind of go up in smoke right now. He has got now Joni Tormela on his tail, and the 2-time race winner around this Austrian circuit doesn't show the signs of a race winner here once more. If anything, it's going the way of Freddie Rasmussen and Otis Lawrence. And I tell you what, Otis Lawrence would love to add yet another success under his belt. Felt that he should have won the Mexican race last week. after the bottleneck that happened at the stadium section. But unfortunately, it all unravelled after he very nearly went into the back of Tom Manley, who led on the very final lap. And now Barry has been overtaken again, this time by Joni Tormela, who now sends his car back into the top 10. Remember, he's on the hard tyres as well, so he will be favouring those mediums towards the bitter end. Again, Barry with a flood of cars further back. Benham losing out to Ismail Fassi as they head down through towards turn 4 here on lap 7 of 36. And now at the inside again, as now Benham is under attack still. We've got Tamas Gal, who's also looking to try and elevate himself here in this fight. Obviously trying to break his way into the top 10. He also on the hard tyres. Jake Benham's medium tyres are taking a licking right now, especially given the fact that Benham's got that front wing damage.
Thomas Gall going to have a look on the inside into the final 2 corners. This could be sketchy as he comes in now, but does manage to get it done, as Benham does not have the downforce in that car to try and stay with, as Wilson Hughes will now be the next car behind him up towards turn number 1. So it's this race of struggles for Jake Benham and for the car of Barry Borman, as now Shanika Clay is retired in the pit lane. He's the first retirement of the day, so disappointment for him, as we see now Istvan Pukki having a look down the inside of Tom Manley. This is 4th position. We're on the same tyre here, Tom Manley and Istvan Pukki down towards turn 5. Does he have enough of an overspeed to try and get down the inside here? Pukki shows himself at the inside, breaks late, gets the space, just about enough space by Tom Manley, nothing more, nothing less, but Tom Manley holds on to the position. Yeah,
certainly does. Great job there from Tom Manley to withstand the pressure. Ismail Fassi on the move again, this time getting past Barry Burramand, who now forfeits P11, now down to 12. Fassi just flashing on that rear end, just trying to recharge the battery as they now head down through towards the final few corners on this lap. Lap 8 of 36, soon to become lap 9. Big questions being asked, no doubt, by those on the medium tyres who may choose to then move on to the hards. What's interesting, Jack, is there's only 3 drivers on that medium compound.
Yeah, and only Danny Beresnay is the strategy that seems to be working at the moment. He's at the top 4, but is now coming under increasing pressure from Jarno Watmere behind as it comes up towards turn 3. Has to defend on the inside. Former teammates, now rivals. They used to be Mercedes, now it's Red Bull for Jarno Watmere, and now he's on the attack on Danny Beresnay, who's on the medium tyre. Started on them, of course, as now they come down towards turn number 5. And is he going to fight it down the inside? Jarno around the outside. Does he have the grip to do so? All the way around the outside. Lovely move from Jarno Watmere into P4.
Yeah, great move there from Jarno. Now 4th place and on the brink of getting into the top 3, but first and foremost needs to dispose of Thomas Ronha. Of course, those two came together right at the very start as we got going. Remember, Jarno had a 1.2 second gap between he and the others that separated up at the top 3 prior. Did lose a fleet full of places. Obviously, Danny Beresnay managing to hook things up on his medium tyres, but you do have to ask yourself now, are those mediums coming under scrutiny? Because Pukki is now on the tail of his fellow Hungarian counterpart. Pukki now heading through towards turn 1, chasing after Beresnay, because Pukki lately considered, or should I say announced, as a Mercedes driver. Freddie Rasmussen now once again being chased upon by Otis Lawrence as they head up through towards turn 3. Lawrence now holding on to the lead with Rasmussen in behind. Ronha under pressure again further back. We now have movements further down, and I think Wilson Hughes might be losing out here because Ismail Fassi is going toe-to-toe with him. So it's between the Williams and McLaren drivers on the run down through towards turn 4. Another look up the inside there from Hughes, but no move could be made in that instance, as now once again they start to get ever closer further up at the very top. Rasmussen has not left Otis's tail, neither has Otis left his. They have remained within 3 to 4 tenths at the very minimum, heading through the entirety of this lap. And it just goes to show how furiously fast this circuit truly is. Here comes Pukki up the inside of Danny Beresnay, finally gets past the fellow Hungarian, and now Beresnay under pressure because Tom Manley has done him as well. Around one sector, here comes Longo as well, Jack.
Yeah, I think the mediums are starting to fall away. Just how quickly he lost those 3 places in 2 corners for Danny Beresnay. Now Brendan Lee is the next car on his list. Championship rivals, of course. Here comes Brendan Lee inside of Beresnay, and he'll now be down the inside into the next part of the corner. A little bit of contact in front compromises Lee's exit, and now he could be vulnerable to Joni Tormala, who's now down towards turn number 5, in towards the next part of the corner, but he will sit behind. But Lee not able to make that move. Went into the back of Nicholas Longue slightly, but it does seem like those mediums are at the end of their life right now. Danny Berzay not able to keep with the top guys at the moment, and is just trying to make these lasts as long as possible. So you can switch onto those hards very, very soon. Lots of swapping between Rasmussen and Otis Lawrence, but Thomas Ron are quite happy to sit in third.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Ron Haar now just watching the show unfold right in front of him. Rasmussen and Otis have been swapping right through the start of this race, and understandably so. They're just trying to hold off the crew of cars that are now starting to catch up in behind, but those on the mediums are starting to suffer. Brendan Lee has now managed to fight his way. Remember, he started P12. He's now up into the top 10, P9, and starting to close up to his former teammates. We now witness a swap right at the front once more. Otis Lawrence now on top, Rasmussen down to second. There's Ron Haar now chasing them. Here comes Brendan Lee up round the outside here of Danny Berejnay, who managed to hold the inside line to make it work for him here. Right on board here with Brendan Lee, heading down in towards turn 4 this time. Again with the use of DRS, had a very late look. And Berejnay, I think, was caught unawares, and here comes Lee, who has now managed to, out of nowhere, he thought the opportunity had shut its door, but Berejnay fell for it, and around the outside comes Joni Tormala. Tormala, the Finn, flew around the outside, coming through Rochenberth curve, and now well and truly in the top 10.
That was a demonstration by two very experienced drivers of two different types of overtakes. There's the fake overtake and around the outside surprise overtake. Two drivers into the pit lane. Danny Berejnay in, as is Barry Borman. But what great stuff from Brendan Lee. Faked the move, forced Danny Berejnay to go deep, and that was how he made the overtake there. Great dummy from him there, and you could see then Joni Tormala pouncing around the outside and taking the position away. So now it's getting a little bit tight up at the front now. As you can see, Tom Manley is Van Pookie not able to separate each other, as Longue now fancies a go at this as well. Here comes Nicholas Longue in the slipstream of the car in front of him. Jake Benham's now out of the race as well. It's getting a little bit frantic up front now as they fight for position. Jake Benham now out of the race with the wing damage, and Tom Manley really wants to get by Van Pookie, not able to do so though. And Nicholas Longue stays where he is. There's a few swaps happening behind as Wilson Hughes gets in front of Fabrizio Donoso in the Aston Martin. So there's lots happening around the race right now, but Danny Berzay and Barry Borman, ones to watch now. They're going to work with each other to try and make this work.
Yeah, we certainly are. Rasmussen still taking them round out in front. Otis Lawrence down in second place. Thomas Ron Haar in third. The gap's fairly equilateral between one another. Very equal between the top 3 at the very least. Otis Lawrence once again gaining on Freddie Rasmussen. Once again, they will continue to swap. Jana Watmere, though, has well and truly joined them. Here comes Lawrence around the outside, coming through towards turn 1. Rasmussen go in the place. We saw a movement there further back, and that was Longue, who was actually somehow left it very late coming up through towards turn 3, trying to catch Tom Manley unawares, and we'll have the run heading down through towards turn 4. We're right on board here with Manley. He can't see Longue up his inside. They make a little bit of contact coming out of Slosh Gold. Will it be a golden move here for Nicholas Longue? Not at all. This time you'll have to renege.
Yeah, he just didn't have the traction coming out of turn number 5 into turn 6 right there. Had to sit behind, but I think it was a late decision to go for the move. I don't think he was actually intending to do it, but he ended up having to commit to it, and Tom Manley thankfully did see him coming, and then they managed to sort it out in the end. But it's now, there's a bit of a gap now. Duncan Hoffland, a second and a half behind this train up front. Joni Tormala at the back of this train, and Duncan Hoffland at 1.6 seconds behind this lead train. So now here we go. Otis Lawrence, of course, up the front now. Does Ron Haar now decide to go for it, or is he? Nope, he's still very happy to sit in third place. He does not want to be in the lead at the front of this train. And interestingly, Rasmussen didn't actually go for the overtake that time, but Tom Manley and Van Pookie are still fighting behind as they come now through turn number 4 and down towards turn number 5 and 6. It's Van Pookie on the outside. Manley desperately trying to hang on. There's barely any space given between these two, still side by side. Manley on the outside. Pookie's not going to give an inch into the inside, and he'll now take the place and move up into P5, but still, these two fighting so hard, but they're not really making any progress.
No, not at all, but Manley's going to come straight back. He'll have a chance coming through ring corner if he wants to plump for it. I think there was a moment where Otmir was almost part of this as well. Maybe just positioned his car just in front of Istvan Pukis to try and encourage Tom Manley to come through out of turn 4. Whether he was thinking about that or whether that was preconceived, I'm not quite sure. But in that circumstance, Manley was well placed to perhaps take full advantage. We've seen so many swaps already through the course of this race. One driver who's really been doing exceptionally well is Brendan Lee. Once again, we see the top two swapping once more. This time Rasmussen taking the lead further back. Here comes Tom Manley again up the inside. Once again, Istvan Pukki forced to defend slightly as they head out of turn 3 and take the run down through towards turn 4. It's actually a little bit calmer on the run down now out of the long straight with DRS applied as they now pirouette their way out of turn 4. Longuet this time going side by side with Manley. Longuet, the Frenchman, for Ferrari. Round the outside he will go through towards Rochenberg curve, and Longuet finally separates Pukki and Manley.
It was a really late dive on the brakes from Longuet, and he managed to just about get it stopped and move his way past into P6. He'll be looking for redemption from last week as well, as I think there's been an issue for Tomek Parajas. Had a bit of an off there in sector 3, so he's now going to have a bit of work to do to get back up towards where he was. But Brendan Lee, now does he fancy an overtake? He thought about it into turn 1, did Brendan Lee, on Tom Manley. So fired up is Brendan Lee. He's bringing Joni Tormala with him as well as they come up towards turn 3, and you can see Rasmussen moving in behind Otis Lawrence. Otmir moving out of the slipstream, interestingly, as they get into turn number 3. No move on for Brendan Lee just yet. A little bit calmer that time as they came through turn number 3, but Otis Lawrence still at the front of the train. And one thing, Rasmussen won't want to make the same mistake that he made in Spa, as there's a more swapping behind as Brendan Lee and Tom Manley now side by side. He went it down the inside, not quite able to do it this time though.
Yeah, it's not the first time Manley's been involved in a scrap such as this around turn 4, but this time Brendan Lee, the man who's going to try and corroborate with him on this one. But this time Manley able to keep Brendan Lee in behind. But Lee's pace around the Red Bull Ring definitely looking strong and showing all the reasons why he is a title challenger. And he's not out of this fight because he's part of this train. The race lead is only just up the road ahead of him. There's only mere hundreds, mere tenths, thousands that separate he and the cars in between P1 and P7. He's sat behind them and also towing along Joni Tormala, who's also having a fantastic race. Once again, we see a move for the lead right up at the front. It's Rasmussen now who holds it with Otis Lawrence down in second. We've got Thomas Ronha looking to get closer as well. 2 tenths separate many of the drivers in the top 8. With them further back, Duncan Hoffland and Joni Tormala just following them in behind as well. They'll go in a straight line down through and towards turn 4. An escape now with Thomas Ronha now just breaking out of the aero ever so slightly, just following Otis Lawrence in towards Roche and Verth Curve, heading out now turns 5 and 6. Very soon those on the hards, Jack, they're going to be thinking of their stops.
They are, of course. Remember, Danny Beresney and Barry Borman started on the medium tyres, so they're further down working with each other, so they'll come into play later on. We're already at half distance, so this will be interesting to see how it plays out. They've been in clean air for the entirety of a good chunk of this stint so far. They've had nobody to deal with, no traffic to deal with, so we'll see how this plays out for them. Thomas Gall, the first of the hard runners, into the pits now, onto the medium tyres goes the Hungarian, and he'll exit the pit lane in due course. So now, does that trigger anything up towards the front? Thomas Gall has gone for it. I don't see any moves being made. Istvan Pukki thought about it on Jarno Otmir, but not enough space, but that might give an opportunity for a moment to Nicholas Longuet if he fancies a chance this time, but won't have the overspeed to do it, and he'll have to sit behind for now. As a half look from Istvan Pukki and a contact from Manley behind on Longuet. Did that give him damage? That's caused a bit of problems behind, a little bit of a concertina effect behind, but I think they might have got away with it.
Yeah, I think so. Brendan Lee got very tight to the back, and it just had a little swapper coming through turn 6. Coming out of Rochenberg now and in towards the Rink corner. Obviously not a place where you want to lose it, because you do have the gravel traps on either side of that portion of track, but flying through turns 9 and through turns 10, as well as they look to now head down on lap 20 of 36. It's Otis Lawrence who leads the way. Freddie Rasmussen once again getting closer in a bid to now once again provide that swap service that they have been utilising right through the course of this race, and once again we're seeing it in action. Freddie Rasmussen now back in front, with Lawrence then further back. Jarno Opmeer having a little look down the inside of Thomas Ronhaar as well. Might too be thinking of the defence against Istvan Pukki as they now run through down towards turn 4. And again, Pukki getting closer this time to Opmeer as they take turn 4 this time at Slosh Gold. No moves this time, as this time Nicholas Longe actually looking a little more patient in behind Hungarian Istvan Pukki. Jarno taking that exit out of turn 4 a little wider than any of the others that are sat behind him. And Manley seemingly recovered after that moment that we saw earlier on, Jack.
It does indeed. Longe, of course, looking for redemption from last week. He was the car in the lead on the final lap and didn't even finish inside the points in the end. So he'll be wanting to not repeat that mistake. Started on pole last time as well. So again, trying to get himself on the winner's board, and unbelievably, it took him an age to get on the board there, as you can see now. That was Lucas Blakely coming into the pit lane. There's more swaps up front between Otis Lawrence and Rasmussen, and you can see Ron are still happy to sit behind in P4. As a look from Duncan Hoffland this time on Joni Tormala. Entered Duncan Hoffland into the fray, has closed that gap now, is involved in this lead battle, and is now deciding he wants to have a go on Joni Tormala with the Aston Martin down the inside. Tormala not letting him have it easy though. Round the outside for Tormala, who has the traction on the exit. It's Duncan Hoffland, and he's into P9.
Yeah, that's 2 Aston Martins now in the top 10. Because remember, Otis has been fighting with Freddie Rasmussen. That's the first time we've seen Rasmussen really go for a return move heading through Slosh Gold at turn 4. So that's interesting. Now, I do wonder whether that's him getting trap position before he comes into the pits. Let's keep our eyes peeled. Does he? No, not quite. But I think we might see at least some decide to come in and box. And yes, we do. Brendan Lee's one of the first. Joni Tormala, 2 of the most experienced drivers on this grid, deciding to come in early, Jack. That's a big call.
Yeah, it is. So Brendan Lee, the first to blink. Joni Tormala as well. Thomas Gall, of course, was the first car to pit onto those medium tyres, but they're going to have to bring them a decent distance now. Exiting the pits, Brendan Lee and the others. You can see flashing by. They're already on the exit of turn 1 and heading down the straight is Danny Beresney and Barry Bormand. Then you've got, of course, these two, Brendan Lee, Joni Tormala, but Tormala is going to come out behind Thomas Gall, so he's going to have to make that position back. But Brendan Lee now, 4 seconds of clean air in front, has to have a big lap this time. Does this now prompt anybody to respond up in front? But you'd have to imagine that somebody's going to have to respond to that.
I would imagine so. It's a great job by Thomas Gall to elevate his place, because now he's right in between Tormala and Brendan Lee, so that, you'd fathom, would place him in the top 10 fight, as we now watch as the cars now make their way around. Once again, we see cars coming into the box. Istvan Pukki, the next one. Fabrizio Donoso will join him as well. So we'll have to see where Thomas Gall comes out in relation to those. Obviously now, with the fact that he's on 3-lap old medium tyres, he is going to struggle with tyre life right at the very end of this race. We could see some frantic moves this time for the lead, as now Rasmussen goes for it ahead of Otis Lawrence. You do have to wonder whether the cogs are starting to turn in the heads, in the mind's eye of Freddie Rasmussen and Otis Lawrence, as well as Thomas Ronhaar. They've got to be thinking about the pit stop phase. Tormala's managed to get ahead of Istvan Pukki. Lucas Blakely setting the fastest lap of the race as well, as we saw as well briefly. Brendan Lee just skipping around with Joni Tormala. And what's interesting is Tormala's 1.4 behind Brendan Lee now, Jack.
Yeah, he is. It's a big gap, and Brendan Lee has brought that gap down to Danny Beresney and Barry Borman by a huge margin. It was 4.2 seconds, now it's 2.3 seconds. So he's absolutely flying on those brand new medium tyres. Istvan Pukki's out just behind Thomas Gall, but there's a huge tyre deficit there, as Ronhaar now is going to move in front, as Rasmussen is into the pit, and Otis follows him, interestingly.
He certainly does. Both of our race leaders that have dictated the pace in this race throughout its entirety, and now in the box for their tyre changes. Brendan Lee's pace has been truly outstanding. The last lap was a 1:19.947, and for context, folks, obviously bear in mind that that is during the course of his first out lap. His last time, though, was a personal best, a 1:05.256, which is 0.5 quicker than Thomas Ronhaar's last lap. So decent pace there on show, as Jarno now goes to the move ahead of Thomas Ronhaar. So Jarno now your on-track race leader, but as it stands, due to pit stops, Danny Berejnay and Barry Burman both boxing early. They are technically your net race leaders.
They are now. Freddie Rasmussen coming out behind Istvan Pukki, so that's a good job from Istvan Pukki. Only a lap in the difference in the tyre as well, so the undercut very powerful, but will that tyre life come back to haunt them later? Rasmussen and Otis Lawrence with each other once again, and Rasmussen all over the back of Istvan Pukki as they come through the middle sectors. Now Otmir, Ronar, Longe, Manley, they're all into the pits except for Duncan Hoffland, who will cross the line to lead this race for at least a lap. So now it's going to be, for the moment at the very least, Danny Berejnay is the net race leader after the pit stop. And look at Brendan Lee, he's absolutely flying, already up on the back of Barry Borman, exiting the final 2 corners. Actually had to back out of it as he came into the final corner, in towards turn 1. He's almost pushing him through. He knows he has to get a move on here. It does Brendan Lee, but this is easy for the Brit. There's Istvan Pukki behind on Joni Tormala. Rasmussen pouncing as well past Joni Tormala on the inside in towards turn number 3, and he gets the move done. Rasmussen and Otis Lawrence on the attack here. They need to make these positions early, and Brendan Lee knows he has to get a move on, because all of a sudden that small little back off has cost him time, and Istvan Pukki's with him now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thomas Ronhar and Longe now wheel to wheel, heading through now towards turn 4. Longe up the inside of Fabrizio Donoso as well. Briefly, they came together, and Brendan Lee's attacking again around the outside of Barry Burman, and the OG is back again on faster medium rubber, and he's going to look to try and take down our current net race leader, Danny Berejnay. Is this Brendan Lee back here in PSGL? Could this be a change in the offing for the Drivers' Championship? We'll have to wait and see. 10 laps to go. Duncan Hoffland's in. Pukki on the attack as well, Jack. Here comes Brendan Lee.
It is, yeah, but do you want to be in the lead when it comes to the final lap? But this is going to be the swap now between Danny Berejnay and Brendan Lee down towards turn 2 and turn 3. Brendan Lee will take the lead here in Austria, away from Danny Berejnay, as more swaps behind. Rasmussen and Barry Borman side by side for him there. Barry has got a broken front wing by the looks of it. He does on the left hand side. You can see the end plate is gone, and Barry will continue to drop down the order here as Berejnay now, remember he did this before on the alternate strategy, but he's going to have a lot of work to do to try to hang on to that position right there. Brendan Lee leads, Danny Berejnay second, Istvan Pukki is third, Freddie Rasmussen is fourth, Otis Lawrence is now fifth. There'll be 10 laps to go when we cross the start-finish line. Can Brendan Lee hang on here? But now the challenger really is young Istvan Pukki in the Mercedes.
Yeah, absolutely. The Hungarian, so vastly experienced, came into F1 League racing at the same time as Danny Berejnay. But Pukki only this year getting his first official F1 sim racing drive, this time with Mercedes. He may have been with Ferrari last season, but that was more developmental. This time he has a chance. Barry Burman retiring from the race. It's not going to be a welcome return for the Iranian at a track where he has won twice in the past. But all eyes on the front. Istvan Pukki, the hungry Hungarian, looking to take down his fellow countryman Danny Berejnay in a pursuit for what could be a sensational race win here in PSGL. But equally, Brendan Lee, who has been so successful in leagues in the past, in AOR, he was a multiple champion. He is coming back, this time on PC, here in PSGL, with every chance to send the championship his way come the end of this race, and with podiums that have stretched on 4 occasions this season, 3 in P2, 1 in P3, he's still chasing that first race win this campaign. Lap 27 about to come to an end, and Pukki is on the attack against Danny Berejnay.
Berejnay's doing an excellent job to even stay with them. Of course, the DRS, half the track is DRS here as well, so he's using that to his advantage to try and stay with Brendan Lee up front. Istvan Pukki knows he might have to do this shortly. Otis Lawrence now right behind Rasmussen. Here comes Jarno Otmir on Joni Tormala into 6th place. He goes as more moves. Here comes Otis Lawrence on Rasmussen down the inside. Now Istvan Pukki with the traction on the medium tyres. Does he have enough to get by his very good friend Danny Berejnay? But now you can see the battle between Rasmussen and Lawrence. You can see Rasmussen, a huge move around the outside, possibly makes it a double overtake almost as he exits turn 4 into turn 5, into turn 6 they go now, and Rasmussen gets back past Otis Lawrence once again, and Berejnay is desperately trying to hang on, but the more he does that, the more this is going to help Brendan Lee to hold on out front. There's not many laps left. Can he hang on?
Well, we'll wait and see. The timer is ticking. The lap counter is also ticking. Lap 28 at this stage. Coming up towards the line now. Lap 29 will get underway. And Brendan Lee is pulling away. He's 5/10 clear at the moment of Danny Berejnay. But that gap is going to be more fruitful for Pookie in behind because, of course, Berejnay is going to be fodder. He's not going to have much of a slipstream here, though Istvan Pookie will have a decent run. Heading up through towards turn 3, DRS open. Again, Pookie up the inside. He's going to have another look here on Berejnay. Further back, Otmir as well being challenged. Thomas Ronhaar under pressure as he goes wheel to wheel with Nicholas Longay, but Longay coming off the better. Further back, Tom Manley, former winner, of course, back at Silverstone. Now looking to take down the ever-long runner in F1 Sim Racing, Joni Tormala, and Manley now up into ninth.
Yeah, Jarno making 2 overtakes there on that lap, getting past Otis Lawrence and Freddie Rasmussen, so goes in front, and he has the freshest tyres of anybody in this league battle, so very much this could be a great move now for Jarno Otmir. He knows if he at least finishes in front of Brendan Lee, that the championship will stay in his hands. Duncan Hoffman moves into P9 now, crossing the line, lap 30 of 36. So at the moment, really good position for Jarno Otmir in P4 with his teammate Rasmussen behind him as well. So the Red Bulls are together up at the front, but it's going to be a very tough ask for Brendan Lee to try to hang on to this, as Berejnay now is going to go back to the lead. They're going to swap positions. Is Istvan Pookie going to pounce on him now in towards the next corner? The inside opens for him. Berejnay will now run wide. This might give the opportunity to Istvan Pookie to make a double overtake as he goes through. Otmir going to follow him through as well. Could this be 3 wide? It will be 3 wide. It's almost 4 wide in towards turn 4. Istvan Pookie takes the lead. Oh, there's contact. They make contact. Through goes Berejnay. Through goes Brendan Lee. They're still trying to figure it out behind each other. Berejnay goes to the front. Lee's in second as they exit now through turn 6, and they somehow come through there. Ronhaar up the inside of Rasmussen behind. Rasmussen has wing damage, George.
Yeah, wing damage there for Freddie Rasmussen. That is not going to help. And now it's Thomas Ronhaar who takes the planet. Pookie at the inside. Frantic. Absolutely frantic here on lap 30. But Pookie leads the way. Berejnay down in second. Mercedes 1 and 2. Could this be a masterclass? Here at this point there was contact between Otmir and Pookie as well. But the two-time champions come side by side through turn 1. And Otmir now up into the podium places. But Lee with every chance to try and usher in a run of his own. Here comes fellow Jarno Otmir Red Bull counterpart Freddie Rasmussen up the outside. He's going to try and challenge Thomas Ronhaar this time as they battle over 4th place on the run out of turn 3. Down through towards turn 4. Rasmussen losing place after place here at this stage, and we're 2 wide again, Jack.
It's anybody's guess who's going to end up in the lead of this one. Lee is desperately trying to hang on, but he doesn't have the tyre life compared to anybody in front. How is Berejnay staying in second on those old hard tyres? Tom Manley up the inside of Rasmussen, and it's all going wrong once again for Rasmussen. Is the stat going to continue with again the pole sitter is once again going to fall outside the points paying positions, but Istvan Pookie remains in the lead, and it's a Mercedes 1-2. Berejnay doing his best to hold up everybody behind so the young pretender can try and get away out front, and it's working so far. Lap 32 of 36. Jarno Otmir is third. Ronhaar now in 4th position in a good place as well. Same old tyres as Jarno Otmir. Brendan Lee behind as well, desperately trying to hang on. Berejnay will try and fight this as much as he possibly can. Holds the inside as much as he can. Can Jarno make his way through on the outside line? We'll look for that switchback line. Ronhaar now has a good run as well out of turn 3 with the slipstream in front as well. Berejnay is putting on a brilliant defensive job here for his Mercedes teammate as down towards turn 5 they go. Round the outside goes Otmir on Berejnay. That is a wonderful move. Can he almost make it the lead move? Has to sit in behind for the moment. Does he have the tyre life to get in front? No, he doesn't for the moment. Great move, and Ronhaar's with him as well on the outside line.
No, this is truly sensational. Jarno's going for the lead. Jarno Otmir has taken the lead of the race. Coming out of Rochenberg curve, he attacked, and the Flying Dutchman now out in front once more here in PSGL in what could yet lead to a second win of the season. We have now got only 4 laps to go, and Pookie is giving chase on former former Mercedes driver, Jarno Wapmere. He sat in the seat that Jarno forgo. And now as they cruise up on lap 33 through towards turn 3 at Remus, they're being pursued by Ronha as well, who has entered the fray. Brendan Lee also being challenged. Here comes Berejnay again up the inside of Thomas Ronha. Can he hold on to it? No, not quite. But a truly fantastic overtake from Jarno Wapmere. 2 places gained in one sector, and here comes Berejnay, Jack.
They're 3 wide behind in turn 5. Duncan Hofland's now in the mix. What a job he's doing. Up to P6 he moves. Danny Berejnay now behind at P5. Enter Nicholas Longue into the fray as well. So out of these top 4, 3 of them have not won a race this year. Ronar's won a track before, but of course had it taken away from him. But now the question is, do you want to be in Jarno Wapmere's shoes right now? Do you want to be leading going on to the final lap? We've seen what's happened before. Tom Manley trying to fend off the attack of Brendan Lee behind. Again, it's come a little bit undone for Brendan Lee. This is going to be a points loss in the championship if it continues the way it goes. But now there's still a long way to go in Austria terms. Coming up towards turn 2 and turn 3. Do they decide to not go for overtakes now? Do they want to sit behind? No, Ronnar goes on the inside now, and Pookie has to try and defend on the outside line, but Ronnar will have the traction to exit the corner, and he'll come out in second place as they exit now towards turn 5. Pookie coming back at him, no, down the inside, they're going to be contact. Pookie forces the issue, forces his way through the middle, but Ronnar hangs on for the moment, sits in P2, and nothing you can do. So now it's Wapmere versus Ronnar.
A love tap from a Mercedes driver on the back of Jarno Wapmere's car. Duncan Hofland, where has he come from? Goodness me, what a charge from Duncan Hofland. Big dunk with a slam dunk coming out of turn 6, and now sits in 5th place, chasing after Nicholas Longue, but Jarno still leads, coming through the final corners here, and will enter the penultimate lap of the race. And look, it's those 2 again. Wapmere and Ronha tied at the hip as they look to battle over the lead spot. This rivalry that has been discussed, it has been talked about for such a long time. It has obviously been displayed, illustrated in league racing time on time. Pookie now on the attack. Here comes Ronha at the inside of turn 3, looking to take down his Dutch counterpart, but Jarno defends brilliantly.
Here they go again. Ronnar desperately trying to defend. Pookie is desperate to get through as well. He senses a race victory on the cards. Brilliantly defended by Wapmere down the straight there. Longue had a look on the inside, but there was no way through. Breathe in, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a hell of a last lap to come right now. Wapmere still in the lead as they exit towards the last 2 corners, but I don't think I'd want to be in his position right now as they come now into the last 2 corners. 36 laps of absolute carnage, absolute lights to flag action is going to come to a head here. Who's going to win in Austria as they cross the start-finish line? Thomas Ronnar in prime position, as is Istvan Pookie. Do you want to be Jarno Wapmere right now? I wouldn't want to be him, certainly not, as they come up towards turn number 2 and turn number 3. DRS open for Thomas Ronnar and for everybody else behind him. Defends the inside line as they exit towards turn number 2. There's nothing he can do. Round the outside goes Ronnar. Istvan Pookie in the mix now. They're 3 wide for the lead. Ronnar takes the lead on the exit of turn number 4 as they head towards turn 5. Here comes Pookie. Wapmere gets them back on the run down towards turn number 4. Brilliantly done by Jarno Wapmere. Pounced and controlled it beautifully and retakes the lead as they come into turn 5, into turn 6. Jarno holds the lead for now. Pookie is second. Duncan Hofland round the outside onto the podium, potentially for the Aston Martin driver, newly promoted to the Aston Martin full-time seat, but it's not going to be a new winner. It's going to be a repeat winner for the first time this season. The second victory and the championship lead remains. Jarno Wapmere wins in Austria from Istvan Pookie and Duncan Hofland. What a job from the 2-time champion, and he takes another win to the fray, the first repeat winner of the season. But shockingly, George, no points on the board for Brendan Lee, and it's a championship lead extension for the champion.
That's the first time he's taken a win in, since 4 races ago. The last time it happened was Suzuka in Japan for the Flying Dutchman, but he hails once more, returns once more to the top, a place where he is so used to. And I must say, if we looked historically up at the stats, this could be yet another mark in the history books for Jarno Opmeer. He'll now extend that title lead here against Brendan Lee, who arrived in with 4 points between them. What a barnstormer, everybody, that truly was. But only one man could stand tall on the top step of the podium. It's Jarno Opmeer, who now welcomes himself back on top, will lift the prize aloft, with Duncan Hofland making it 2 Dutch drivers in the top 3. And what a fantastic drive as well from Duncan Hofland alike. When we factor in from where he started, he was towards the rear of the field. He qualified 19th place, and it would look like it was going to be a miserable day for Aston Martin, but didn't he just turn it around? Such a huge fight on display. Credit to the drivers for not giving up. Credit to Istvan Pukki for not giving up. It's Jarno Opmeer who wins here at the Styrian Mountains, with Istvan Pukki, who sits in Jarno's old seat. Second place for him. Duncan Hofland in third. Rounds out the top 3. Nicholas Longue, a fantastic drive by him as well. 11th to 4th. Manley there in 5th as well. Thomas Ronard down to 6th. He started 3rd. He was involved in all that scrap with Danny Berejné in 7th. Wilson Hughes, great drive in P8. Thomas Gall in 9th. Fabrizio Donoso in 10th. Double points for Aston Martin. Freddie Rasmussen outside the top 10. The pole sitter in 11th. Brendan Lee, Yoni Tormler, Lucas Blakely, Otis Lawrence, and of course Barry Burman, Ismail Fassi, Tomit Paragis, Jake Bedham, and Shanaka Clay round out the order. Well, take a breather, everyone. I mean, that was truly sensational. Jarno Opmeer back on top, and unbelievably, we shouldn't question it, but unbelievably, the reign continues. He, of course, notching together yet another race victory around this circuit. He now carries the most race wins around this track. That is victory number 3 at Austria for Jarno Opmeer, so he breaks clear from Barry Burman, who also had 2 against his name. That is truly sensational. He could yet go on. Now, remember this stat. 4 times a driver who has won here has gone on to win the title that same season. Jarno could be yet the driver to continue that run and add his name to that list once more. Obviously, when he won this race back in season 36 last season, he went on to become champion. When, of course, he won it in season 30, he went on to become champion. It could happen a 3rd time, Jack.
Wow. Wow. I did think that towards the end of into that turn 3, that the race was done for him, leading on the final lap. But it was an incredible job by him. Controlled it beautifully, waited, allowed the overtake to happen, and used the slipstream to good effect in the second DRS zone. Beautifully performed by him. But yeah, so the stat of new winners in a row is over, but nonetheless, I think that was a great way to do it, and he comes out with a big championship lead extension as a result of that as well. But a hat tip, Duncan Hofland, wow, last row of the grid, and he's got a podium.
He has. I mean, tremendous drive. First and foremost, though, I think we should talk to Istvan Pukki, because he is, of course, the driver that was battling Opmeer right to the bitter end. Istvan, welcome to the commentary box, my friend. What a drive from yourself as well. You obviously started just on the cusp of the outside the top 10, managed to break to within the top 10 with a P9, but then coming back at the very end, the strategy worked. You were in the fight for P1, and you were against the driver on that final lap that was in your seat that you've got now last year, and you very nearly took the win away from him. You must feel gutted, but at the same time happy with the performance.
Yeah, hello everyone, and congrats to Jarno and Duncan for the podium. So yeah, starting with qualifying, I just can't do a normal Q3 here for some reason this game, and yeah, I was really sad about that, but still Q3, so I was happy with it. And the start, I just kept it clean. Yeah, I saw there is a wing damage, and unfortunately it was Jake, my teammate, suffering from it, so that was a position. And yeah, my pace was not great, I would say, but at least I had a great straight line speed and top speed compared to the other guys. But yeah, in the middle set I was struggling quite a bit, and in the last laps I was trying to have Donny to stay in the top 4, top 5, because his hard tires would get equal or maybe even a bit better in the last 2-3 laps. and I was trying everything to keep him there ahead of me or right behind me, but when the others, Jarno and Freddy, started to push me, I just couldn't do anything, and I had to overtake him in a really awkward place, and that compromised his race. But for me, it was turning out pretty good, as it was Thomas, Jarno and me on the last 2 laps trying to battle it out, and I hope and I think from my side I didn't do anything stupid or bad. And on the last lap, I knew I had to go for the switchback, and still I was hoping with my straight line speed into turn 3 I can get on the inside, but it didn't happen, so I immediately backed out and went for the switchback. But we had into the last lap we had around the same battery and out of turn 3 as well with Jarno, so yeah, even though I had a little bit of advantage in the straight, I couldn't really fight him into turn 4. He had a better line, he could brake deeper, and yeah, if I just went for a move there from me on the inside, it would be just very, very stupid. So I'm happy with P2, I take it. Not one of my greatest tracks, so yeah, happy with the result.
It was a tremendous result, Isvan, and I think importantly, that's your first podium of the season as well. It must mean a lot to get that one over the line.
Yeah, especially after last week, when I was pretty sure my penalty was gonna get taken away, and then I have a P3, P2, depending on the penalties. But it was not taken away. I was a bit surprised on that, but I didn't really expect it. But this week it finally happened, so hopefully nothing is gonna change it. Let's keep it that way, I hope so.
Yeah, well, plenty more to come as well. We've got some great tracks lining up. Of course, next time we head to Losail, what are your thoughts as we head to Qatar?
As driving on the track, it's one of the tracks I would say I like to drive on, and pace-wise it's always been in the better ones for me. So yeah, hopefully another Q3, and then from the Q3 and the start we can see what's gonna happen. It's always a bit of a gambler.
Well, we certainly will wait and see, Isvan. I mean, credit to you as well. Fantastic drive and a great performance as well since becoming a Mercedes driver. We wish you all the very best, and you never know, you might go one step further at Losail.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you guys, and bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Isvan Pukki, everybody. A class act, as always. We're going to bring in the one, the only, Big Dunk. He's back. It's Duncan Offland, everybody. He came third off the back of a truly tremendous strategy. Remember, starting P19, he went all the way to P3. Dunk, you must be absolutely exhausted.
Well, yeah, that's the right way to say it, I think. Yeah, that was a very interesting race. I did not really expect to finish P3, but I'm happy to be on the podium.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's great to have you here, first and foremost, Duncan. But again, your great form continues. And after taking a race win all the way back at Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, big win as well, that's yet another podium, your second podium this season. That's going to help you immensely in terms of the championship. And we've still got plenty of races to go. I mean, this surely has to be a brilliant day for you, and especially on a day where you've now confirmed that you're going to be on the Aston Martin main roster ahead of F1 Sim Racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. It's very good to see 2 or maybe even do I have 3 podiums now? I think I had another P3 somewhere. But
not quite. P4. Yeah, it was. Came P4
close.
Spa. You're close.
Quite close. But yeah, very, very happy with the pace this season, and obviously I missed a couple races as well. So, but that should not be happening as long as I don't injure myself anywhere in the coming season. So, yeah, very happy with how the race went. Obviously, starting P19 was just about taking it easy, and just going long was a strategy. Like you said, I just went 1 lap longer than everyone else just to have the freshest tires, and just praying for basically what happened. Corners at the end, cars slowing down, and that way I could use my tires in my advantage. And the final lap managed to overtake Thomas for P3.
Yeah, well, it was a truly huge effort. I mean, we saw a huge scrap towards the very end. Was it tricky trying to find your way through that field, because you had approximately 5 or 6 cars that could have got a podium here tonight?
Well, absolutely, but I still believe that the open lobby streams are paying off in these kind of scenarios. It's I mean, yeah, it's you need to be kind of lucky that cars right ahead of you are not crashing, but obviously it's going so quickly. Cars going left and right, the car behind is using, ahead of you is not using, and then you're boxed in, and cars, maybe teammates working together as well, trying to block you. Maybe my team is helping me. So there's so much happening, and I mean, it's I think I was just at the right point at the right time. Played it smart with ERS, that's for sure, and obviously having the tires at the end, so that definitely helped.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, it was a brilliant drive. And looking ahead to Losail as well, Duncan, what are your thoughts?
Losail's Qatar?
Yeah,
think?
Qatar, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm so sorry, I'm so bad with that.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear what you said briefly.
And Qatar. Well, that probably will be even worse with basically the entire track being flat out, so you don't want to be leading there. So that's definitely going to be fun. But like Austria, it was a lot of chaos. Jeddah was a lot of chaos as well. So apparently that suits me quite well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Duncan, we wish you all the very best. Congratulations, your second podium this campaign on a big day as well. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, guys.
Brilliant. That's Duncan Hoffland, everybody. A truly tremendous result on part of him. Doesn't look like we're going to get Jarno Watmere tonight. Obviously a very busy man these days since joining Red Bull. But Jack, I think if there's one thing we have got to say, credit where credit's due. Brilliant drive from Duncan Hoffland. Great drive as well from Mr. Van Pookie. You can't dispute any man on the podium right there.
No. I think to come out of this with a podium, considering the craziness of that final 2 laps, I mean, it's Mexico followed by Austria has just been crazy. But yeah, absolutely, you have to commend Jarno Watmere for the patience, I suppose, shown, the restraint to allow Ronar to go through on the inside into turn 2. And then use the DRS to good effect in the second part. Beautifully controlled. Is Van Pookie, I know he'll be slightly frustrated, but I think he'll be very happy to pick up P2. And Duncan, I mean, he said himself he wasn't even expected to be anywhere close to that, so he would have taken that any day of the week. But he pulled off a brilliant move around the outside in the final lap to take P3, so he'll be very, very happy as well. But unfortunately, the streak of different winners in a row is now over. So we got to 6. Jarno was the first driver to get more than 1 win this season, so he's the first repeat winner. But the statistic of pole position continues on. Rasmussen again ends up way down the order, outside the top 5. So again, we've had 7 races of that right now. Maybe they need to start taking the hint.
And you do have to wonder as well whether now we look ahead towards the end of the championship. We've got only a few more rounds. In fact, we could take a look at the calendar as well, guys, because obviously we've got lots to take in before the bitter end. I mean, look at this. We've got Qatar coming up next on September 25th for round 8. Round 9, Las Vegas. Texas for round 10 on October 9th. Brazil, which is round 11, October 16th. And then October 23rd, the season finale at Abu Dhabi. I mean, Jack, with such a vast different array of circuits, I mean, you can't get much faster than the next 2 we go to. Obviously, Qatar, Losail, you're very rarely below 8th gear or 7th gear or anything like that. You're very fast right through. No slow speed corners at that particular track. And Vegas, very much the same almost. Following that, we have Texas, which again has a little bit of variation, a little bit of Silverstone wrapped in there, so maybe something that suits the likes of Tom Manley. But then you have Brazil. I mean, obviously Brazil has brought us many great races in the past. Abu Dhabi to finish as well, as is obviously fact in Formula 1 and of course here in PSGL as well as like. You'd be foolish to say that the championship is one and done at this point, but the going rate is when you want someone who is so versatile at every track, Jarno is almost your man.
He is, absolutely. Of course, now with that race win, he's extended the championship lead out a good chunk as well. Of course, Brendan Lee, very disappointing, outside the points right there as well. So he of course didn't score anything. But I think by my calculations, Beresne is either 1 point behind or is now on the same points as Brendan Lee after that P8 finish. But we will be, of course, keeping an eye on the stewards' inquiries, because I'd imagine there probably will be some after the race. We've seen that last week. It changed the results entirely. Ronar took the victory on track, but ultimately Danny Beresnay was the beneficiary afterwards as well. So all results are provisional, so keep that in mind, and do stay tuned to the PSGL socials for all the stewards' inquiry results as well. But one thing's for sure is Jarno Wantmer's now got a decent lead in the championship.
Certainly does. And speaking of the socials for PSGL as well, first and foremost, we'll get the channels out of the way. Big thank you, of course, first and foremost, to all the viewers out there that have tuned in to PSGL. As always, we really appreciate your support. And if you would like to show your support, why not hit the thumbs up button, the like button as well, down below, and also leave a subscribe if you've been tuning in on YouTube. If you fancy as well, follow us on Twitch, a fairly new platform for us. Be sure to hit that follow button, stay up to date when we go live here at PSGL, at Premier Sim GL as well. Head across social media. As Jack so rightly said, we have got social media available. Lots of news updates get handled there. Twitter, Instagram, and also TikTok as well. Feel free to check those out at Premier Sim GL. And if you enjoyed the commentary tonight, we hope you did anyway. You can check me and Jack out as well. First of all, you can check me out too at George Morgan TV. Do not listen to that one down below. It says at It's George Morgan. It's not correct, everybody. I do have a new graphic. I need to update it. I do apologise. It's at It's George Morgan TV on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Jack, where can they find you, sir?
You can find me at JackCComs on Twitter/X, wherever the hell they've decided to call it now. But I think it's X. I think we're all calling it X at this point.
It'll be Y. It'll be Y next week, Jack.
Yeah, well, who knows?
Yeah, we'll wait and see. But folks at home, it has been a tremendous evening. Once again, a hugely vibrant race. One that has gone the way of one Flying Dutchman. He's taken his second race of the campaign. Will this one lead him to becoming champion towards the end of the season? There's still some rounds to come. We'll see you at Losail. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.